Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dialog Choices podcast. We didn't meet up at least a week. I don't remember how many weeks. We're back. The downvote button's gone, so this is officially the most thoroughly approved episode of the podcast ever. This is a joke everyone made a month ago, but I'm doing it now, so fuck you. You don't
it's really nice that
you don't like it? You downvote the podcast. I fucking dare you.
It's nice because it means now that we don't have a single podcast that people disliked.
I know, right? Now all of our Genshin Impact opinions are non-controversial at long last.
Yeah. Everyone agreed with our opinions all the time. They only agree with us. They can't disagree. It's great.
This is a trap, of course, if you guys have not noticed. All the people that are calling out the dislike stuff and being like, haha, you can't dislike my video. And like, of course you can. And it shows up on our back end and everything. But like, that's video engagement. So if you do that because people are like, oh, you can't do it, then like, you're actually helping their videos. So if they annoyed you into pressing the button, then they annoyed you into winning. Like there we go. Like they make more money and the video does better because you dislike the video. Because as we learned from Rebecca Black's Friday, dislikes are just as valuable as likes on YouTube. The end.
And
this has been my TED Talk.
YouTube Rewind. And then YouTube Rewind's dislikes are apparently so embarrassing they have to remove a feature to get
I don't believe for a second that that's the reasoning of why it happened.
Do you? It's probably not. I think it's I think it's more for. Do you think? I think it's
first of all, YouTube Rewind getting a bunch of dislikes was a century ago in YouTube terms. Like it's just a it's a meme people have to remind each other of because they already forgot.
But do you think? But don't you think that this platform that has been catering to corporate channels more and more over the last few years doesn't do this, do you think this is a bad thing for corporate channels is what I'm saying? Because, remember what the most disliked video on YouTube supposedly was? That Electronic Arts something or other
what, Infinity War? No one...
Yeah, probably.
Infinity
something
or Space War, the Call of Duty man.
War of War, yeah,
best,
something like that.
Honestly, the most fun-looking Call of Duty game I've ever seen, but I never played it.
To be fair, yes.
Like, I'm like, I want. That's like the most tempted I've ever been in like the last 10 years to play a Call of Duty campaign. Was the space one?
Do you not think that this is a good thing for companies though? Like, because companies be like, oh, we don't get any dislikes to show. Nice.
It's dislikes were historical context, but often difficult to discern historical context, basically. Because you didn't know if it was a weird, fucked up, like, we're very angry at the wokeman that we imagined, like, force, and that's why there was an angry video or not. Like, you don't know why the dislikes were. It doesn't come with an explanation, usually. I think some sites or places tried to contextualize it, or, like, I remember that, like, Steam, when a game got review bombed, would have like a weird pop-up that would like try to contextualize it, not necessarily with like a real explanation, but just the fact that it was a brigade happening out of nowhere that doesn't match up with like the timing of the game coming out. Like, hey, it makes no sense that there's a giant influx of reviews, so we're just going to point that out just because that might affect, whether or not our reviews are reliable, which is already questionable because they're user reviews and they're bad for that
none of
in
them
that
are.
way. But yeah, like. Like I obviously like we're used to leftist channels on a fair bit, and like they get dislike bombed, and a lot of them just straight up get rid of their likes at some point because like
honestly, I think that's the worst thing that YouTube did in this whole debacle was saying, oh, dislike bombs affect marginalized content creators the most. I mean, there are
reactionary channels on a regular basis that specifically target other people's content and send their mob of people after them and fill the comments with hateful shit, and then that video forever is like 80% dislikes. Weird how this one has so many dislikes, and you're like, then you watch the video you're like grabbing some popcorn, let's watch this video, let's see how much he fucks it up, and then you're like, wait, this was like why did this video have so many dislikes? And it's like, oh, there's some history here that isn't being shown somewhere.
For sure, but I don't believe for a second that that's why YouTube did it, even though that is ostensibly their main justification. At least I felt that it was their main justification.
Yeah, it's possible.
I think they're just appropriating the pain that they cause actively because they fostered this sort of content, the YouTube drama. They're just appropriating the pain that they cause to justify this move because whatever decision they,
Yeah.
Whatever the reason
people often
is,
say
I don't
dumb
think
reasons or try to deflect around things.
Yeah.
Just to distract people. Like that's definitely always on the table. But what they said isn't wrong in that it do happen.
No, yeah.
Like a lot.
It does, yeah. Yeah.
It do happen so much.
I want to say
happens
that
if you give anyone the option to say they don't like something, someone's going to abuse that system to punish people.
It's not like you can't on a consistent basis when things have a lot of dislikes. It's not because people organically just happen to all dislike it a lot just because they watched the video in a vacuum and then disliked it on their own choice. It's almost always like another YouTuber is making some kind of feud, or there's a viral Reddit thread spawning outrage about it that poisons the well preemptively to make them be like, oh, I'm gonna go click on this thing I'm supposed to hate because this Reddit thread told me to, and oh man, I'm shocked that my end result was the thing that I went in expecting to feel. And like it's exhausting.
Which the EA video, I think, was largely because of that. Everybody was, I mean, I went and disliked it because it was the most disliked video. But I mean, why wouldn't I?
And that's who gives a shit. But that's not like targeting a person.
It's
the
EA,
way that it is.
Who gives a shit.
That's a multi-billion bullshit video game thing and so on, and not like an independent creator trying to make YouTube videos and getting targeted because they said the wrong thing about the Thermion problem one day or something.
Yeah, but I think the large there might be something there. I think the reason that might be something for the just to make the platform a little bit better or more appealing to big corporations, maybe. But I think the biggest thing is just that like a continued move throughout the industry, not just YouTube, towards removing the agency from the viewers, because this is the likes and dislikes at the end of the day, and specifically the way they are done now, it's just the change is for the viewers. It isn't for the content creators, because we can still view them on our own videos. So it's for the viewers. This is a change for the viewers, and platforms have been more and more trying to take away agency, either because they, like Facebook does, just keeps bringing your wall or whatever it's called, the main thing, into the algorithmically sorted
oh yeah, like how more and more platforms care less and less about how you supposedly want to watch these channels. We're like, nah, Twitter just randomly shows a weird purple star or whatever and is like, we're going to show you this person's tweet that you don't follow, and we're not even going to try to contextualize it like we used to with the whole like, oh, somebody that you liked this, and so we're showing you that person's likes is what's happening, because it used to be that likes were just likes and retweets were retweets, but then likes became retweets when the algorithm wanted them to be, and so more and more you don't get as much say in what you're being shown on any given platform, and that makes it easier to obscure which parts of it are just them pocketing ad money basically and making money off of showing you something specifically, and the constant influx of talk shows as the primary viewership on YouTube after like music videos.
Because make no mistake, the technological and editorial and cultural impact that TikTok is having right now is enormous. Like everyone is aware, everyone that is designing for social media, for Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, they're all aware of what TikTok is doing in the sense, to the brains of people and the way it's being a success at the end of the day. And I think YouTube has been trying to recreate it for a little while with the nonsense that the shorts are. They're completely
I mean, platforms just really blatantly try to chase specific trends. Like we saw when Twitter tried to have like stories or something, which is a whole mechanic I don't understand to begin with, because I haven't used any of the platforms that have them. But they tried to have their Instagram stories. I think
it was called fleets.
No, wait. I think stories were from.
Stories. I don't know.
What's the ghost?
I like how you're just doing like the math of like, okay, who did
Andrew,
this?
Andrew, what's the ghost?
Snapchat.
The ghost. Yeah. That was the first place that had stories, I think, and then I think they went to Instagram, and then Twitter was like, we want to have these, and like all the older platforms try to just straight up like World of Warcraft steal the other mechanics that other people invent in order to maintain relevancy, and some of them are just think that's embarrassing and fruitless. Yeah,
there's like this misconception that because one feature is popular on a specific platform, that's what everyone wants on every platform, and that's never the case. Like I don't.
And
no
they're
one
likely
goes to
aware
YouTube.
that a lot of them won't succeed, but there's that they take the risk because they think that if it does succeed, the payoff is greater than the potential loss of doing the experiment and not panning out.
And it never really is, because there's a lot of features on a roadmap that are way more requested than this weird like.
Well, no, I think it is completely true. I think it absolutely is worth the gamble every time. Because the profit potentially is massive, and they also already exist in a weird fucky space where they don't actually have to turn a profit to exist because tech companies are weird and stupid. So like they're already existing in a space where they always take weird gambles. Like their entire like every social media platform is usually itself a weird gamble that never had to turn a profit in the first place to exist for like a decade and change our society for the worse. like Twitter and so on. Like that's just that's the assumption at the base. So like of course they're gonna keep throwing weird things out there. And yeah, like if it works, then it's a massive potential success for them. And oftentimes there's also just a guy running the whole thing who just benefits career-wise from being able to just piss on something and be like, this is the part I did. I'm the Dr. McCEO smart pants that stole from this other company.
Well, I mean, there's one social platform that doesn't do that though. It's LinkedIn. They copy it like 3 years after it stopped becoming
LinkedIn
hit.
sure fucking adopted algorithmically designed spam emails that they email you every single day if you don't individually unsubscribe for every different platform of algorithmically designed spam email, up into including the point of like, somebody you never heard of, some number of them viewed your profile maybe, but who knows who they were. Maybe if you log in and pay for a subscription or something, you can find out. It's like the fucking Facebook poll mini games that were like, oh wow, someone said something about you, but we won't know until you tag 12 of your friends and get them to play this game too, as it algorithmically grows. Like fucking LinkedIn does pyramid scheme style emails. They're not even slightly immune to this weird bullshit.
No, what I'm saying is that they're super slow on the take though, because they change so slowly.
Yeah, they're just not good at any of it.
They're not. It's kind of weird though. Like, I mean, obviously it's a different kind of social media, but like there were other things. There wasn't Venmo like social media style thing for a while as well. There's other like business things that could have success. LinkedIn just looked in, I think. No,
I don't think Venmo is a related.
It isn't.
Format.
It's like PayPal.
Yeah, Venmo is not only like PayPal; it is owned by PayPal. It was just the trendier new PayPal for young people, so PayPal just bought it, and so that they could just have that too. But it's just a way of quickly paying people on your phone for a thing, which I eventually begrudgingly installed because fucking everyone uses it. And so if you don't install Venmo, you're just gonna have people flake on you on their part of meal bills because they're so used to only paying people on Venmo that they're like, oh, I'll figure it out or something later, and then they don't. When they have to pay you in a different way.
Oh, so it's just between friends that those payments.
Yeah, it's like a slightly social media PayPal, and that you add your friends, and then you can. It's basically just like a bookmark list of people that you pay frequently.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Whereas PayPal is usually operated via like an email address that you send somebody, and it's like less personal, so it's like more useful for like artists.
PayPal is a lot better for business related. Yeah. Venmo's a lot more for like personal.
Splitting the bill.
Like for paying.
I think some
splitting the bill.
I think some delivery services even allow you to split the bill in app or something.
I have like
PayPal?
I have a credit card that lets me see one of my purchases, click on it, say I want to split that purchase, and then I can send the bill through whatever provider I like PayPal or Venmo or whatever. I think there's another one that does it. But yeah, so I can just choose like, this is a bill I want to split with people, and then it just picks a service that it knows people use to split bills, and then I can just send the bill that way. And it's weird, but I mean, I guess it's better, like you said, than the alternative of like, hey, pay me back the $5 for pizza, and someone's like, I'll get that back to you like in 20 years, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
like it's
because you don't want
about the inflation.
And like, because you got to take it, you got to take care of all this stuff like in the moment, on the fly, because otherwise you're the weird asshole that's like keeping tabs of how much everybody owes you, and then you have to bring it up afterwards with people that don't remember it, and they're like, no, I think I paid you, and then you got to be like, no, I'm fucking weird, and I kept a spreadsheet because I know you don't reliably pay me, and like I've been keeping track of all this shit, and then you're like it sucks to be that person so much because people will just like forget 5 minutes later and then think they did it all the time.
Yeah, I am kind of one of those people. So speaking
as the person that's like, we're all watching a movie together. Hey, you guys want pizza or something? And then like it's just seeing who I do and don't get email notifications from later that day. I know who they are.
Like some kind of weird this was a charity pizza.
I see how it is. Just because we're family.
You're like outing yourself. Jesus.
Payment is such a weird thing. I was trying to figure out how to pay for. So I use LastPass for my password manager, and I'm probably going to stop using it pretty soon because of what I'm about to tell and other things. But
some false advertising. There's plenty of passwords on here. Next, you're going to tell me it's called Final Fantasy.
There's so many better password managers. But the thing is, I wanted to pay for their premium thing because they don't allow me to have the computer version and the mobile version at the same time since like last year or something. And so I was going to pay because of something that happened last week. But they don't accept PayPal. So it's only credit card or Google Pay. And Google Pay also doesn't accept PayPal for some reason. So it's only credit card. And because my bank is having brain farts, I couldn't actually pay with my credit card for whatever reason. So I was trying to figure out how to set up PayPal to be like a credit card. I don't think that's even a possibility. I went into... So, is it? Yeah.
Are you talking about to use like through Google Pay?
Yeah, through Google Pay or just like as a credit card. Maybe like,
So I have like, I have it set up... for my Google Pay, I have it set up between my main credit card. I have like an American Express, and so that works with everything because it's like the old world money.
Yeah.
And then you have PayPal
from the before for.
Yeah, it's like like American Express is like this weird. I don't even know what you would call it, like the grandfather of debt.
It's the first sort of international tourist oriented credit card.
It's like it was like the first credit card, and Visa and MasterCard are like pathetic chumps that followed behind its tail, like lapping up any money that they could get from less fortunate people or something. Anyways, it works with everything. Like it works anywhere, everywhere, on every. It's like a weird, terrifying monster.
It doesn't. I don't see it very often here in Portugal, though.
I feel
I'm sure it's accepted, but
it's accepted. But I think they really for two reasons. One, I think they really try to push in the US a lot more than anywhere in Europe because it has terrible APR rates. Like I think it's like 24% APR, which is like that's worse than a car, and it's for like a credit card, which is fine if you're somebody who pays off completely pays off their credit card every single month. But if you want to use this as like, I want to make a big purchase and pay it off later, like plane tickets. No, this is not the card to do that. You're gonna be you're gonna be paying like triple the price by the time you pay it off. But I think I think in Europe it's probably not as appealing to people. I think they'd rather just get a card with like a credit union, which is a lot more stable and reasonable.
What's common,
Yeah, like I don't think you're gonna be like, let me get like this overly fancy, unnecessarily bougie credit card for no reason,
just so I can lose money.
just so I can like buy. I don't know, like so I can buy food with points or something. I feel like Americans are the only ones who are really invested in this like stupid point card system scam, and like American Express is the de facto of that. Like they are the ones who started it all, and so I think Europeans are kind of like, look, I just want to use my real money to buy real things and move on with life.
The thing
what about fake money for fake things? Use your American Express points to buy NFTs.
Something I found out this week, though, the US, if you want to pay with a credit card in a restaurant at least, they ask you to sign a thing. What's that all about?
Oh, when you sign a receipt, when you make a transaction?
Yeah.
That's only if you make a credit. That's only if you use a credit card.
I know.
You don't sign receipts in Portugal?
No.
So I guess people in your country aren't scummy
It's like a lame
scammers
verification system that honestly I don't think does anything, because like I have a wide variety of shitty signatures that I give up on making half the time. Like,
so
especially when they're like, "Oh, sign with your finger on this touch display at the Rayleighs or something," and I'm like, "Oh, this is fucked." Like,
because
I can't move any of my body right doing this. Like, it's K squiggle B squiggle, fuck it, and it's never been like, "Oh, this has been declined because our signature scientist looked at your signature and determined this might be fraud." Like, no. Half the time they're like, we determined that you making a transaction at your normal store nearby might have been fraudulent, so we canceled all your cards.
Oh crap! It didn't happen to me. That signing of the thing, because I went to New York this week. That's why. Was it why we didn't? I don't remember if that was why we missed the podcast.
I think you had to go, or you had jet lag or something like last week.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to go to bed late. That's what it was. Yeah. So
like you were
jet lag is weird. Jet lag is weird. Still, so it didn't happen to me because the first time I used my credit card was for the cab drive. Wait, it's not cab, right? It's a taxi. Yeah. For
both.
The taxi.
It's a taxi cab.
That's okay. Taxi cab ride, and it apparently did some sort of error that.
How dare you?
That it couldn't connect or something. The driver was like, "I've never seen this in my entire life," and I just asked, "Can you pull over on an ATM and I can go in and get you the money?" And so I gave him a fat tip because that was a pain in the ass for everyone involved. And so the wait, did I? Yes.
So stupid.
So the ATM worked fine, apart from the ATM fee, but the credit card didn't. So I couldn't use the credit card, and now I have some American dollars in my wallet. Why is it Monopoly money though?
Why is it Monopoly money?
Everything is wrong.
Why does it feel bad to use American dollars?
Yeah, it's like you're used to holding these pieces of paper, and these pieces of paper look different. It's not deep. Like that's everybody's paper. Also, it all looks weird.
Our money is also like lower quality than most other nations. We don't really feel the need to invest in interesting money because no one has it anyways. So why are we bothering?
We have like crinkly money.
That way the criminals can print your money instead of you.
Our money is really bad for every single facility of use. It's not. They are.
Yeah, let me pull it out.
They're made of they're made of like the cheapest paper I think that has ever been made, except for toilet paper that's zero ply.
So that's not even real, right?
So the first thing that I noticed,
I'm trying to think of what ply measures, and it can't be zero, can it?
So
ply measures how many layers there is.
Okay, hang on a minute. That doesn't sound like what words mean.
I have a $20 bill and a €20 bill in my hand right now. And the first thing that I notice immediately is that the $20 bill is the same size as the $1 bill, which is great when you're like in the dark and trying to pay. But secondly, the $20 bill is just flat paper. It doesn't even have like a texture thing, which the euro does. And it feels like the $20 bill, if it gets water, it would just smudge.
So do you think it's better to have different sized dollars?
Yeah.
Why would it not be?
That seems wildly annoying.
It is a little bit weird.
Keith, you have eyes. It would be a lot better for people who don't have eyes to be able to immediately tell if they have a $5 bill or a $100 bill.
Well, it's like having it's like having a deck of cards where all the cards are different sizes. I mean, obviously, it doesn't have the same purpose because you're supposed to be able to have cards face down. But like, I mean, like,
work like that.
It's just weird to have them all change based on their value, as opposed to all like fitting into one clean fold where you can grab it from any corner and they're not going to fall out.
Well, the coins have to do that because otherwise we would never know what coin is which.
Wait, the same with the why not? Can you not look?
You don't grab stacks of coins, so it's different logic.
It's different, yeah. But you also don't grab stacks of notes. Who are you, Mr. Duckling or whatever the?
I mean, yeah, you page through them in your wallet and stuff like a book, and you find the ones that have the right numbers on them and so on. Like it sucks to be like. It
heard
sucks
here
to be
first.
like,
Keith
oh,
is
I gotta.
loaded.
They're all different sizes, so I gotta like dig in here to find the small ones that are like hiding at the bottom.
No, it's easy though. It's easier. I promise you.
I don't believe
alternatively,
you.
on the fortunate side, at least the American dollars have braille on them, so blind people can tell the difference between the. Oh wait, they don't have.
Oh,
that
you're
either.
doing a sarcasm.
So,
He's doing a
yeah,
look, everybody, he's doing a sarcasm.
The U.S. dollars are like terribly unfriendly to anybody who's not like perfect by the eyes of the state.
The euro does have different textures for the.
Yes, they do.
And of course, it
they
has
also
all the,
have
like the sigils and things for security. But that's
there's
that's just
so
fancy.
U.S. dollars have that too. We usually, depending on
Oh, really? Oh yeah.
they're supposed to, depending on how.
I can see that.
So the I think it's the $100, the $20, and the $10 bill all have bars on them now. They have like a little
Yep, I can see
plastic
them.
bar. Those are supposed to be anti-counterfeit measures, which would be a lot easier if you just made it out of better paper that only the state has access to. But besides that point,
No, that still wouldn't be good. The problem is
I mean-
that bar is like 50 years old in terms of security measures. Like the counterfeiting is gone.
yeah, we don't. Yeah, printers aren't
far.
like a printing press archaic levels. It's not like someone's like, oh shit, a bar. I'm gonna have to add that individually to my prints. Like, it's fine.
I do find it really interesting that you don't sign for receipts there, but at the same time, like Americans are used to a lot of like security theater where they pretend that things help, so they make us put up with more bullshit that supposedly does something. Like that's like half of our interactions with people behind counters.
I think a lot of this problem, if I remember correctly, I believe the signature is there for companies. So that companies, so if you come back and you say, hey, wait a second, I didn't buy that TV, a company can go, oh, there's a signature and it looks like your signature and it's your TV now. And you're like, oh, well, wait, I didn't. Can't you use like a security camera to prove I didn't buy that? And it's like, no, you signed for it. And that's something only the real you does. And it's like,
so it's to support them in court or in any interaction.
Basically.
So the signature,
which is
like
why
most things in America, gives the not consumer more power.
Which is why with my signature specifically, no matter what kind of signature, no matter what device I'm writing on, I have I put a special character that I can draw in any format that's always there, because I've had this before where someone used my card with a fake signature, and I have I can pull it up on both my bank, my credit cards, everything has the exact same signature symbol on all of them when it's me who does it. And
Don't
so
say it live in a podcast.
I didn't say what the signature is. You have no idea what that symbol is.
It's a lazy.
But there's a symbol on every single signature I've made, and it's the same symbol, and it's there as like a "this is me" fingerprint, and you can do it with your finger, you can do it with a pen, you can do it with anything. It's consistent. Everything about it is great. And the one time I needed to use it, it worked flawlessly, because it was like, here's the receipts of like all the past ones I've done. And there's there's still the argument of like, well, you could have just faked that one signature to get away with it. And it's like, I mean, at that point you can just argue like, all right, well now I'm going to just like go to court. I can bust out a security camera and know that this isn't me. But like there's rules too, where it's like, yeah, this charge was like in a different state. And it's like, huh, weird that. I wonder how I got over there and then came back here and bought like pizza 5 minutes later. Like but no, the signatures I believe are specifically there to help the company to go like, you signed for it, so that's you, and your signature matches this, so it's definitely your signature.
There was, oh sorry,
no, go for it.
There was one piece of security thing that I went through that was good, and the person that was with me actually was surprised. I wasn't, because I haven't been to a restaurant in 2 years. So every restaurant that I went to asked me for my vaccine it's not vaccine passport, my vaccine or proof of vaccination. That's what it is.
Oh,
every one of them.
New York has proof of vaccination policies that you like encounter.
Every
I've
single
literally
one.
never been asked for proof of my vaccination a single time ever.
I've only had it once.
That's like an alien experience to me. I didn't know that was ever actually happening anywhere.
That's yeah. I mean, on the taxi ride, there was that was wild. But basically, I was sitting in the back of the taxi, and there's this little television set, or it's like a tablet on the divider between the driver and the passenger thing, and it was set on repeat on like a 1-minute message where it was subscribe to CNBC Live now, and then it was a message from Town Hall saying, yeah, the cops are good or something or other, and and a part of that message said something about fighting COVID, and how we're New Yorkers, we're gonna do it together, and that thing like every 1 minute repeated, and the poor taxi driver
Colonel summarizes Star Wars, but Star Wars is America.
But the thing is,
I like how you have to guess. Did he just summarize Spider-Man movies, like the old Spider-Man movies?
He didn't actually come to the United States. He just watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah,
you mess exactly with one of us, you mess with all of us.
That's COVID. I didn't think about that. It did have that tone.
Yeah, of course it does. New York's a weird place, but yeah.
But the thing is, it was so focused on COVID, obviously, that I wonder if it does have like specific, if it has to do with the
New Yorkers.
The
do they like each other? They don't know.
But don't mess with them, because if you mess with one of them, you mess with all of them.
Yeah. So that was a good thing, but to see at least. I mean, people inside weren't wearing a mask, but I mean, at least they asked for the vaccine passport. That was weird. Like the first place I went to was just to like have late lunch.
I mean, were they
like
sitting?
4 p.m.
No,
I mean the workers.
Well, I
the
just
workers.
mean the workers weren't wearing masks. That is weird.
It was super weird.
Everywhere I go, the workers are wearing masks, except for in those weird like single street towns where they're like protesting.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, you can't tread on me and my cool personality that I got from Kid Rock. Just a carbon.
It was kind of weird.
I've walked into like 50 places that are like identical to each other, and everyone acts exactly the same way, and it's so frustrating. They all think they're rebels by being the same person.
Oh boy. Yeah. But apart from that, I mean, it's good that they're asking that, obviously, but it does make things feel a little bit safer, especially for somebody who's just flown in a plane full of people, and it's like, let's hope that I don't have anything. And then on my way back, I had to pay for a $250 test on the airport, and yeah, so everything was fine in that regard. But
I've still never had a COVID test.
You had to pay for it, like to get back home. You had to pay for a test.
Yeah, my country and Germany both require tests 24 hours.
I've just been hiding from all of society, and I've never taken.
That's what I've been doing as well.
Taking a plane like it's a pill.
Isn't there? I guess I'm always still confused about this. I always thought there's like a 2-week incubation period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what's the point of testing you?
The thing about COVID is that it's
period?
so inconvenient as a disease that if you actually make everything completely bulletproof for how it actually works, society can't work at all. So instead, we kind of keep gesturing at mostly trying.
And
so you just, try to test people a lot and hope for the best, because
the rules.
Otherwise, it's a real struggle.
The rules for the US are even worse, because I had my test on Monday. I flew out on Wednesday morning, and I tested on Monday. And like 2 hours after I tested, and I still didn't have my result, I hear in the news that the US changed its rules to require a test 24 hours before arrival. Oh no, wait, before departure. And I was like, I'm gonna need another test now, and I did. But it's like everything was changing this week because
it's all like an arms race and stuff, and because if we're going to be completely smart and bulletproof about it, then they'd have to give Colonel the Hawaiian treatment, where he arrives and he sits in a hotel that he has to pay for 2 weeks straight before he's allowed to start being in the country.
And then the same way out, basically.
That seems kind of like a really good idea.
Yeah, but it's not. It's obviously wildly unpopular, and often what's popular is more important than what's a good idea.
Yes. I too prefer the population to die as the popular choice. That is that is my prerogative when living in a society is to watch them all die. Like,
you know what would be worse though about living in a hotel for 2 weeks? The toilets.
Room service?
No, the toilets. Your toilets are weird. And I am afraid. I'm afraid of them.
You're saying that as if you like Europe has superior toilets somehow, which I can confirm they do not have superior toilets. They do not.
No, but at least they're not scary. It is better to have a bad toilet that isn't scary.
No, if you're scared of a toilet, it's probably because did you have like a really loud flush toilet?
No, the flush is fine. But it's fine. The problem is the bowl. First off, the bowl is just wide, which I suppose is
Have
fair.
you seen us? We're wide. We are a very wide species of people.
I'm okay. I'm okay with having to prop myself up. But there's so much water.
Were you at risk of falling into the toilet through the seat? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think so.
Like, what do you mean?
There's just so much water. The European toilets, or at least in Portugal, we just sort of have a little bit of water at the bottom.
There's different ones. I think there's like some toilets are like basically dry, and then they just like spray the poop into a hole when you press the thing.
Yeah, that's more similar to
that's a per business option.
Yeah,
that's the ones that I have.
Well, if you were to live here, you could get any toilet you wanted.
For 2 weeks, I don't think I would.
You can get a real weird toilet.
If you live here, you can literally set the level of water that goes into your tank. You can just change the chain, and it fills your toilet bowl up with less water.
Oh,
here we fill it up with a lot of water because it turns out that people here are not only big but take big fat dumps,
and we build cities in deserts.
Well, but also we need like a lot of water to get. We need to get a lot of the dump out of the toilet, and
every day that grass lawns are not illegal in California is another damn angry.
But grass lawns aren't the problem. It's the fucking almond farms that are consuming 80% of our water.
But just such a disgusting percentage of our water goes to lawns that don't do anything. And you're like, what? Why are these allowed? Americans are so fucking annoying.
They don't make you feel good. You need to mow the lawn or buy a robot.
They don't even make you feel. Yeah, it's mostly some HOA bullshit where you're just trying to conform to the idea of what a house is supposed to look like, either because you were like sold the American dream idea of like that's the life you have to live, or in many cases somebody literally is like, because you live here, you're required to live how we tell you to when you live here. Fuck you.
Which is also very American, by the way.
HOAs are like the most anti-American concept possible on paper. Like the idea of what we'd say America is, like it's a crime that HOAs even exist. But yeah, the fact that HOAs exist, despite how stupid and anti-American they are, is the most American thing possible because our American society never stands up to the ideal that we're promised, or even say it is while living in it, despite all of the evidence to the contrary.
Apart from guns.
There's a lot of guns, but only if you're white. Otherwise, you don't.
Gun.
Otherwise, they're suspicious.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a gun to be suspicious. I think like you can just have like a pizza.
If you're not white,
and someone's like, he's got a weapon.
Suspicious. But if you're white, then you're running around with an open carry gun. You're like you're such a cool activist patriot. But if you're non-white and you have a gun at all, it's like a suspicious thing and grounds to shoot you.
Or if you have a phone case that looks like a gun.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
The number of shootings that happen where they're like, well, he had a gun. And it's like, the thing that you keep protecting their right to have, that's supposed to be virtuous, apparently, in our moral code. That's the reason it was okay to shoot him, was because he did the thing that you said is good to have?
Did you know that in the United States...
Just trying to keep score.
9% of the gun murders are made by the police. That's a nice stat.
What do they use?
Guns.
What?
Wait, what? What do you mean? It's gun murders. You know what I mean, right?
What was that?
What do they use?
What was that in response?
I don't.
I'm making the joke of like there's the joke is always like, he had a gun, says man who had gun and used it to kill man with gun. It's I mean, yeah, that's yes, that is how that works. Like, so whenever you hear a statistic of like, gun crime is on the rise, it's like, yeah, because cops have them and they're using them to kill people. That's how crime works. You're right. Like, I don't know why you're stating the obvious in this example, but sure. It's
this will be a very popular podcast episode.
Of course it will be, because there's no dislikes, Keith. No one can tell us we're wrong.
We have unlimited power.
The other thing that was wrong about
be stopped.
The other thing that was wrong about bathrooms in New York, but that one I'm a little bit more willing to accept, is the shower thing. And now I understand why Josh Sawyer keeps posting things about terrible shower systems. If anybody who's listening, like in a bathroom, in a bathtub, the way
Did you have
turn
a standing
the shower
or a half shower, or like a half shower?
Like the knobs that make it hot or warm or cold or come out of the sprinkler or down through the faucet.
Okay.
Thing.
So the temperature control, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff. And now I understand why Josh Sawyer keeps posting videos of him complaining about that in hotels.
Why?
If anybody follows him on Twitter, then because they're all weird. And I only was to 2 hotels, so
when you go to a hotel, you have to like learn a shower every time, and also I'm taller than all of them.
Oh, that's not my problem at all.
So it often leads to the problem where I have to deal with simultaneously the fact that the shower is too short for me, and I can't figure out how to make it not cold. And there's nothing worse than trying to crouch under a cold shower.
That's the one thing that I found consistent. It's very easy for you to shower on cold water. It's so easy, and it's usually required to go through cold water before you get to hot water. But no matter how you operate the thing, but again, it's only a sample of 2
I'm kind
hotels.
of baffled by this discussion. I don't think I've ever been. I think that's not true. I think Japan's the only time I didn't know how a bath worked, like how a shower or bath worked. I was like, wait, I think this is different than what I grew up with. But everyone else has a pretty consistent knob system where you either have 2 knobs, which if you have 2 knobs, then you usually have to mix match them until you get warm, or like a sink. Like sometimes sinks will have this. They'll have the 2 knob system. And you have to
it's like in Portugal. We do that.
You want to turn on the cold water first, and then turn on the hot water to the max, and then that way you get like pressure, but some kind of cold in there. But then you have like the hot. But sometimes in the US you have just 1 knob, and you have to figure out is it left for cold or right for hot, or is it right for cold and left for hot?
And there's a weird number of completely unlabeled ones, and you also are like, how long do I wait for feedback?
And here's a very easy system here. You pull it, keep it in the dead center, and then you just move it to the left a little bit and wait for like, I would say maybe 30 seconds. And if it feels colder, move it to the right a little bit, and it will probably feel hotter, or vice versa. Like just always start it in the center position and then move left or right depending on how you feel. If it's one of those shitty ones where you have to turn it from left all the way to the right, then
that's
it's usually
what I got
cold
on my second hotel.
It's usually cold in the beginning all the way to hot.
Oh my god, I forgot there's the level of insanity where it's just one knob that turns in one direction and starts in one temperature and switches to the other.
So again, I guess I've just memorized this nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I think you've just spent more time in hotels than either of us.
I have spent a lot of time in hotels. I mean, motorhomes also do the same thing. Motorhomes have like weirdly inconsistent shower nozzles and stuff. I don't know. I guess I am aware of this.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
I'm just now realizing when you said you need to go to the water, turn to cold water first to get pressure. That's why my first hotel didn't work properly. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
If you only turn on the hot, you won't have enough pressure.
No, it didn't even do that. Like it's like a doorknob just hanging downwards, and I pulled it to the left, like in clockwise direction, and it didn't do anything. So I was like, "Oh, is this broken? How do I need to pull it towards me?" And it wouldn't do anything. And then I eventually pulled it to the right in the counterclockwise direction, like a doorknob, as if you were closing it. And then he turns on the cold water, and I'm like, "Oh crap, it's bad." And then I did it the other way around, and then it would go around again, like in a direction that it wouldn't go before. Because I think it must have been detecting that it didn't have pressure for hot water or something.
Yeah. You have to. Sometimes you have to. So there's also the third. There's like a fourth type of shower head where you have to pull it out and then turn it to the way that you want to use it. So it's this makes a lot more sense if you know how the plumbing of showers work, because then you're aware of the mechanism used to get water from the pipe into the shower head. And so like, yeah, if you just see like there's one knob, okay, well, if it's not one of the turn knobs, which is obviously just a valve closed, opened. If it's like the pull, you're just pulling the valve open. If you're, it's like you have to like try to go from there. And then once you figure out like how the mechanism of getting water in goes, you go, okay, well now I have to figure out how to make it hot or cold. Usually a good node usually a good node. Most of the cold is on the left, most of the hot is on the right. That's generally how it goes. For me, it was
the other way around, but still.
That's like a template, not the requirement. Because sometimes you'll just have. Sometimes it'll be like hot on both sides, and you're like, what the fuck did you do? What did you mess
like how
this
this
up?
started off is like, see, that's crazy. It's super easy. Here's my 20-minute explanation.
The mechanics, like starting a shower to me has never been a difficult problem. Getting it hot or cold is like maybe 5 minutes at most of work, if that.
That's a lot. That's a long time for the shower to be running before you're in it. That's so much time.
I don't pay for the water bill. Good. I don't care.
That's not how long we're learning your definitions of difficulty are themselves questionable. 5 minutes to start
I don't think
the
5 minutes is real.
process.
I think I'm being a little extreme
I don't
here.
care.
But usually,
you already said it once, and I'm not letting you walk it back because it works for me.
That's fine. I will commit to 5 minutes. It takes a lot more time to make a bath, because a bath is like the worst kind of soup possible, where you're sitting there and you're frantically trying to like left, right. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me.
Soup is a word in this context or any context.
What do you think a bath is? It's human soup. That's all you're doing. You're boiling yourself in it.
We're
until,
making
like,
human soup today, boys.
Yeah, you're getting like you're basically creating human broth in a tub, and then you drain it down the sink for fish to eat. I don't like.
That's
what
why
is
the Japanese
point?
wash themselves off first and then go to the bath.
Well,
so
they do that because they don't. So that way, when they clean the bath, it's not full of gross filth. It's which is again, that's why Japan had the worst bathroom experience for me. Was because I was like, I'm gonna take a bath. And it's like, here's an LED touchpad, like use it. I'm like, for what? Who is this for? And you and you turn it's like, I'm just gonna take a bath. And you turn the bath on, and the bath just kind of laughs at you like, haha, it's cold. I'm like, how do you make it hot? And the LED is like, how hot do you?
That's the funny thing.
Yeah, it's like there's one like lever to like, okay, here's how you pull the thing to get the water to come out. And I was like, you can't turn it. It's just you just get water out. How do you make it not cold water? And then it's like, oh, there's a thing on the wall that dictates how hot it is. And you're like, okay, well, I want it to be like kind of hot. And it goes, so like 40 Celsius. And you're like, oh, I don't know, Celsius? Fuck. And you have to like go get a phone now and convert it. And you're like, no, 42 would be like scalding. I don't want that. I want like a little bit lower.
42 is not scalding.
I think 40. If you sit in 42 degree, I don't know. That might
give
be
me
hot
50-degree water and I'm good.
That also seems like scalding. But either way, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, this is the temperature I want. And you go, perfect. That one. And it goes, come back in a few hours. And you're like, what? What did you just say to me? Now I gotta come back in a few hours?
It needs to turn on the boiler and then just go fetch the water off the river.
You literally have to go like, I'm gonna take a bath today. So you go in, you fill up the tub, you set to the temperature you want it to. Then you go like live your life for like a couple hours. And then you come back and do the bathing experience, which is mind-numbingly painful because as an American, I do things in the moment I do them. So like if I'm showering, I am showering. I'm not going to start showering and then come back and do it in 2 hours. If I start cooking, like I'm going to cook and then finish the cooking. I'm not going to like start cooking and then come back in a few hours. Like that's
what I do.
There are so many things that would be nice to make, but I can't bring myself to do like the pre-planning involved of like acquiring the ingredients and then doing all the prep work and like pre-soaking shit and stuff and like getting that ready in advance and then getting ready to cook it the next day, and then the cooking process itself is like leave it for multiple hours and then you like let it set for the next day, and like it's like there's some things that it could take like 3 days to make, kind of, if it's like the worst scenario on every step.
That is exactly how it felt trying to take a bath.
Like it's unlikely for all those things to happen, but usually there's a lot of recipes that have at least one waiting step that is like literally like another day, like at making ramen eggs.
This is why.
Like you're gonna marinate eggs in a bag with certain things for 24 hours before you even get to the part where you make ramen.
My sister made that for me the other day. I looked at them, and she says it was amazing. I didn't want them. It didn't look good.
Wow, you just do like no. You worked on this for time. Fine. Fuck you.
She just like she offered. She made them for herself. Yeah, I was like, no, that looks. Because the principle is that it's like through reverse osmosis.
My response to your cooking is oof.
Yeah, it's because the eggs just
ramen,
get like
they're good. They're really good.
I'm sure they are, but I know
it's so much better when you have ramen with the ramen eggs in them instead of someone just cutting a hard-boiled egg and putting it in. Or
don't make hard-boiled, make poached eggs, or just when you
it's
make
supposed to be soft-boiled egg for ramen.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It's supposed to be soft-boiled.
Yeah,
so much better.
I gotta use the right word for the description of the inside of the yolk.
Yeah, you better be careful. People are gonna dislike this video if you don't get your shit together.
Get my ramen game straight.
And the other thing that was weird about New York, they don't use, at least in the hotel. I stayed in 2 nice hotels. They don't use double pane windows, so it's like as if the window is open. Yeah,
what do you mean double pane windows, like for when you're looking outside.
I think he means for temperature.
Yeah, so for one, it's super cold if you go near the window. But like the heating is just overwhelming, so it doesn't really matter. But you just hear the cars honking, because obviously they honk all day long.
Yeah, because double pane windows are better insulation.
Yeah,
but it's just, why don't they have them?
I don't know.
Because you did not stay at a 4 or 5-star hotel, sir.
I did. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna tell you. I just
don't. You basically visited a different country than the one that I stay in.
Yeah,
so I can't say anything about them anyway. I don't know anything about New York.
Double pane windows are usually reserved for like pretty fancy establishments. If you're going, how many floors did your hotel have?
Like at least 27, which is where I was.
Not too bad. That's probably like a 3-star. Because let's see.
Let me see. In the reviews, it says 3.7 out of 5, but I think that might be like.
That's not not reviews. So sorry, there's this like arbitrary star system for hotels.
Michelin stars, or is that just for restaurants?
No, well, it's not Michelin stars, but they're.
I mean, I could tell you the hotel, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, what's the hotel?
A Western Grand Central.
Docks past Colonel.
It was right in front of the Empire State Building as well. Like it's a nice place.
Let's see.
Well, Empire hasn't been.
I mean, yeah, that was underwhelming as hell. I just look up and I was okay.
It's just a stupid joke.
It's
just a really stupid joke. I was just like, Empire hasn't been doing great since the Jesse Smollett case.
Oh no, wait, that's not what I went with my thing. But yeah, either way, the point is, they don't. It's weird. They didn't have. Maybe in the fancier rooms they do. But so yeah,
I'm trying to think. That's a comfort. Yeah, that's a comfort hotel. So that's a 3-star. Yeah, it's a 3-star because it's so.
Well,
if you were at a 4-star place, it would be like close to $200 to $300 a night. And if you're going to 4-star, you're paying pretty high premiums.
That was a lot more expensive than that. It wasn't my money though, but it was like 700, 800, I think.
A night?
Yeah.
That can't be true.
It is really pricey.
Man, I'll never live that life.
And you didn't have double pane windows?
No,
I don't know about
weird,
that, Chief.
right?
That seems.
Yeah. I did have like a 50-something inch television.
Are you sure it wasn't for the
week?
week? Because I'm looking right now and I can get it's
just for one night. Yeah. I mean, it's company money, so it doesn't matter.
I think they scammed you.
No,
or I think they scammed your company because that's extreme. I'm looking right now, and I can get I can spend a weekend there, and it's gonna cost me. Let's see. I gotta choose my room first. It's gonna
Oh,
cost
I'm looking at those
me-
numbers as well. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper now. What is that all about?
Yeah, so I think they fucking wherever you buy your stuff from, I think they scammed you. Like I think
No,
was
it's
Yeah,
again.
last week wasn't an important time, was it?
no.
It might have been
There's,
because
like,
of the
no
COVID
reason.
restrictions. They're lowering the prices because of COVID restrictions.
Oh,
I
like
don't know.
the like tickets just not tickets, but like patronage just tanked, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I certainly didn't see a whole lot of people there.
Yeah,
I just
don't know.
can't imagine spending that much for a bed ever. What a nightmare.
It's
Yeah.
it's not really like they're not really worth it either.
Just imagining spending.
It really isn't. I promise
The
you. I
beds-
didn't spend it myself, but it isn't. Don't do it.
Yeah, the beds don't. It's not like you're sleeping on it. It sounds like you're sleeping in luxury, but
Nope.
unless you're literally in like a presidential suite, the bed you're sleeping on is the same bed that everyone else gets. It's not like a hotel.
There's also just no bed worth that much. For like a night.
That's not true.
Well,
Have
First
you
of
ever
all,
been in?
beds cost that much to like buy, not rent for a night.
I don't know.
So that's the first problem we're facing here.
Look, it's all in the mattress. If you get yourself a nice mattress,
And
it doesn't have to be
you don't go to
expensive.
hotels to stay in the hotel.
Yeah, that's. Also
I mean,
There are a
Normally,
number of problems with this scenario.
it depends on where you're getting a hotel at. Because if you get a hotel in the middle of the desert, you're probably gonna spend a lot more time in that hotel than you spend outside.
Well, why are you going there? If the destination is not worth going to, then the hotel doesn't have much reason to exist. We're not talking mid-long drive motel stays, which also themselves are cheap for that reason, because it's just like, this plate, you're not here to be here. We're just competing for the cheapest bed that you'll pay for.
You're here because you have a biological need to not.
You're
be
here
awake
because
for more
all
than
this land's in
24
the way
hours.
of where you want to be.
the thing with the Empire
Most of the
State
time, it's because
Building.
you can't have public transit to get where you want to get. Oh, you want to take a train? Not in this country.
Yeah,
You got to
The
drive.
thing with the Empire State Building, though, is that it look like, if you look at the pictures, it looks super tall. But I think the reason for that is because most of the buildings in that part of town are just not that particularly tall. Like they're tall.
Damn,
but
we're talking New York shit today.
All the other buildings are being nice to
dunking
the
on
Empire
New
State
York.
Building and just
Yeah.
keeping themselves low.
Because the bigger buildings, aren't they in closer to the
I have no idea.
what's the name of that big park? I think that's Central Park. Yeah,
Central Park, yeah.
yeah, that's where all the big stuff is, and that place with the television sets on the buildings. I don't know the
Oh,
names.
Madison
You know
Square.
how it
No.
goes.
Yes.
No, yeah,
No.
No,
not
Madison
Square
Square is-
No,
is
Madison
close
Square
to
Garden
Empire
is
State
where
Building.
the baby
You're talking about-
Godzillas were being hatched.
You're talking
I saw
about Times
that.
Square.
Times
I
Square.
recognized it immediately. Yeah, Times Square. Is up,
You saw
no,
the dinosaur nest?
no, I didn't see the dinosaurs, but I recognized the place though. I was like, "Oh, look, it's here!" And then somebody was like, "Do you want to save a puppy?" in a very New Yorkish accent, and I was like, "This isn't. They're not talking."
What?
Like every time people from there talked, I was like, "This is a very weird American that I'm not used to." And then I had a colleague from
This is
Seattle.
a weird
and-
American.
I had a colleague from
Wow.
Seattle, and every time she talked, I was like, that's the American that I know. Because, she talks like
What
you
does
guys.
that
The
I'm-
accent is
I'm
different. There's the
Kind of
little-
scared right now.
weird.
Yeah, I'm
East
still
Coast
kind
is-
of scared.
You're
I
like,
don't
oh, this
know
person
what it
sounds
is.
like Bird.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not Bird. You guys also sound like Bird.
Well, yeah, I'm saying because he's in Seattle.
Yeah, but I'm saying West Coast. More.
We are multiple states away from Seattle.
It's all the same thing.
We're not
What
all
do
the
you mean multiple
same. How dare you?
It's just one state in the middle. Nobody even knows the name, so it's fine.
Nobody knows the name of Oregon.
Everybody pronounces Oregon.
You're not wrong, I guess. I'm
I
just
don't know how to
imagining
pronounce
the.
Did I
Nah, he's not
mispronounce
wrong.
it properly?
He's
or did I
not wrong
pronounce
if
it?
you plug your ears.
Did I Did I accidentally pronounce it properly while I was making a joke about mispronouncing it?
I don't know. We got a bunch of weird Connecticuts and stuff in this country.
That's right.
All of our names for things are just stolen from other cultures we don't respect. So you think we're gonna know how to pronounce them?
That's not true.
Is it? Is it not true? Is that what it is?
I mean, what's Pennsylvania stolen from?
I don't know.
Right. Pennsylvania might not be one of the 40 state names that come from.
It's that we didn't just take from the Native Americans.
From Native American, yeah. Pennsylvania does, yeah.
Or Mexican.
Well,
or
they're still Native American.
Or Spanish. Or British. Or Canadian. Wow, there's a lot of people that we kind of just stole everything from. No, but I'm saying that they were here in the Americas and we took land from them. Well,
if you're talking like Aztec and Inca and stuff like that, then you have Native Americans, but Mexicans are generally
a lot of names
Spanish.
Oh, Spanish, yeah. Their names tend to be, but the thing is,
and that's specifically their names were Spanish. Like if you're talking about where the names came from, they were from Spain controlling those parts of the area once upon a time, and then we just kept the names after it switched over.
Murdered everyone.
That's true.
I mean,
the
terminology shifts. I'm more committed to I'm more committed to the murdery terminology when it's the locals, but when it's just the different colonial powers fighting each other, then that's just bad people at war with each other.
No, I'm talking the Spanish in their colonies.
Yeah, they were also colonialist.
Yeah, that's
they
the
didn't belong there more than we did either. We were both not supposed to be here, and then after wiping out both forms of locals, we were fighting.
Yeah. I wasn't saying the Americans murdered the
both
Spanish.
go fuck ourselves in that context.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. I just yeah. But so that's the story of my double paned window New York trip. No, wait, single paned window.
Single pane, yeah.
The continuity's
at least you got to.
Here.
This is your first time in the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. You did it.
You didn't even drop by. We were like only a few minutes drive away.
Only 6 hours away.
In plane, maybe.
Maybe like 6 days
if you were driving,
away.
It would have been like a week of driving.
Yeah. I honestly,
it's a disgustingly large country.
Yeah, I mean, you could have taken a train. It probably would have been like.
I hate visiting parts of California in California.
Well,
it's not worth it.
That's a different problem entirely.
Too much country. That's the problem. It's the same problem. It's just a matter of scale.
Well, the next time I visit, I'll probably be in Michigan, so it's still pretty far away.
What? Michigan?
Yeah,
what's in Michigan?
Company money, you know how it goes.
Apparently money's in Michigan. He's got to get that Fargo. He's going to find that one buried cache of money from the end of the movie that no one found.
Oh, no.
It's going to be his.
Finally.
It might not surprise you that I didn't watch Fargo.
No, you don't watch anything.
You don't need to watch Fargo.
I mean, you don't know what happens in Star Wars. Like, that's nothing can surprise after that. That's the base level we're starting with. What do you mean that's an easy one? You didn't know what happened in it. You were wrong about everything. We just let you keep talking because it was funny. You were wrong about everything.
I didn't get that impression from your reaction.
Yeah, no, because it was really funny, so we had to hear the whole thing. We couldn't like let you know, like, because you had more movies to go. It was great.
Yeah. Well,
and whenever you were right about anything happening in Star Wars, it was the wrong character in a way that was really funny.
Yeah. Is Fargo a movie or a TV series?
Yes,
both.
Oh,
it's a movie from like I think early 90s or something. That's really good. Yeah. And then it's a multi-season anthology show with only the lightest connectivity between seasons. That's also very good. That's recent. It's on FX, I think.
Often.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool idea for a show where every season is a completely self-contained story that has a satisfying conclusion and then it's over. And the only connectivity is that certain characters you realize are the parents of other characters and so on. Like the second sequel is a prequel, but not like a direct prequel with the same characters. It's literally like 30 years ago, that one sheriff had this happen in Fargo. Here he is as a young guy, played by a completely different actor, and that's the only connectivity, basically. And each season's pretty great, but I haven't seen the most recent one. But season 1 and 2 are incredible. Oh, you watched it because it had Billy Bob Thornton in it.
And
Martin
and then once
Freeman.
he was gone, I was gone.
And that's a pretty good combo, Martin Freeman and the Billy Bob.
Yeah, you had Watson and Bad Santa hanging out with each
Watson and Bad Santa, yeah, basically. It's an acceptable squad.
There's a lot of good what's it called? Tension. There's a lot of good tension in Fargo.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where you actually do feel like kind of like you're sweating with the characters.
Oh no, yeah.
Fuck. Like it's
season 2
good.
dials it up too. Like there's just so much like oh fuck.
The only downside of Fargo is the accents.
That's the best part.
No.
The juxtaposition of the fucking like this dark comedy, like part of it, that's part of what makes it even more of a dark comedy is the fact that like everyone has objectively the funniest accent in all of the United States, coupled with like folksy sayings and stuff, but it's all happening with like intense murder and like distressing actions happening.
I can see why that would be amusing.
It's like imagine just the most adorable English accent and everyone's saying like funny English things because they have so many weird sayings that are like they sound like adorable children's things that people would say. No, I'm saying like it's like that idea, like how like in parts of England people have really adorable accents and they say like everything has a really funny saying that's like sounds like what a child would say, and that's just what they call most of the things, and it's like that crossed with all the horrible murder.
It's interesting, but yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure
that's why I'm surprised. I'm surprised to hear Michigan of all places. Like what a weird.
Yeah. It's also Michigan's not even the right place. I'm just mixing all of the Northeast together. That is in New York, but because Fargo takes place in North Dakota.
Yeah, but it's
number 1 in churches per capita in the United States. Oh God.
because it's a work trip. I'm sure they just choose it for like either the rates or
when I was trying to get a job post graduation, I had an extended family member recommend I try to get a job in North Dakota, and it was from the fucking Hannity Foundation, so that was already that's a real bad starting point already, where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna work at the fucking Sean Hannity Foundation? That's what you're suggesting for me, family member? I'm so gonna listen to you in the future. But then on top of that, like I looked into North Dakota. I'm like, isn't this where Fargo is? And yeah, like I find out that like they have the number one in churches per capita, which is just not a stat I want to hear about any place that I'm supposed to interact with. That's just not a great starting point.
Well, but you don't know. Maybe it's like little churches, like here in Europe, where
like they have a bunch of micro churches everywhere, like Monopoly House churches.
Yeah,
everyone has a little church in their backyard just to pad out the stats.
Since when has North Dakota had a bad rap with anything ever?
It's like when a place has the most hybrid cars per capita, but they're all RC.
I'm confused as to like, what are you gaining by that many churches? Like,
like churches, attendance is up, bro.
They just compete with each other in a very capitalistic manner.
I think Michigan is number 1 in never mind. Wyoming is number 1 in cows per capita.
Is there like
cows? Cows are nice.
There's so many cows.
I mean, there has to be
get
something
murdered in Wyoming, though.
Like, what is the purpose of North Dakota?
It's there. It makes the shape of the country nice.
It had some good curves.
We own everything below that one border, so we're gonna keep it. If nothing else.
They make a lot of sunflower seeds, so that's kind of decent.
I think the flowers do that.
Well, yeah, but I mean they have a lot of open land filled with sunflowers. So that's
Wait,
at
is
least
North
something.
Dakota just a square?
A lot of the lower population places are, yeah. They just filled in the map because all the squiggles and whatnot and weird border. Well, the squiggles are rivers, which is a problem because they move. But all the other weird borders are because there was some kind of dispute or something, most likely. But there's whole parts of the country where they just kind of like rapidly drew all the lines because no one cared. It was like, there's vaguely 10 people here at the time that the state's being founded. They live in the middle somewhere. Let's just even draw the lines on like meridians or something.
What's the name of the subdivisions of a state?
Counties.
Yeah, county. Even the counties are squarish most of the time.
Yeah.
And then they just changed because of...
That's because they haven't gotten intense with the gerrymandering yet.
Gerrymandering.
They haven't drawn like the most bizarre creatures across the country. Like they're trying to make people believe they'll fall off the edge of the map of a flat world.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
It does look pretty in pictures, though. North Dakota does, with the little rivers and the
why is North Dakota's flag... Wait, is something wrong with North Dakota? Do you guys have a new flag?
Something wrong with North Dakota.
That can't be your state flag.
Yeah, it's a flag with a little maritime thingy.
And we're here with Andrew Wilson, the author of the hit and best-selling book, There's Something Wrong with North Dakota.
What? Their flag is like kind of just a fucking mess.
I like it.
It has, first of all, it has that really dumb... It has that dumb, like, American eagle. Sorry, it's not a bald eagle because that's not what they look like. But it's what America says bald eagles look like. Drawing,
and
it's got like
and the little...
it's got the arrows in one claw and then like I think it's like a peace branch in the other. I'm sure, but it has like a shield and it has like the shield on its chest, like someone grafted a shield to this
No, it reminds
bird.
Me of a... do you know what the babies use to not soil their not soil their shirts? No, for the...
Oh, like a bib. It looks like a bib.
It's a bib with American blazon.
Then it has like a ribbon in its mouth, which has Latin in it, which is a language totally spoken in the United States all the time.
Pluribus unum. Isn't that like an American thing?
Which is out of the mini one.
Quoting Latin for no reason? Yes, that's a very American thing.
Yeah, that's a very American thing. Which again, it's fine. This is like the stupid, this is like the really shitty logo. I think that the seal of the United States, like this is our great seal of the United States or whatever, is this exact logo. So they just copyright infringement all over this shit. They stole someone else's
North Dakota under it.
Yeah, they did. They just wrote North Dakota under it, like they did this or something. And then the stupid top of the eagle
did this or something.
They didn't. North Dakota didn't make this seal. They stole it from the U.S. It's our seal. You can't steal it.
They did it.
Original content, do not steal.
Exactly. We drew that bird first. They copyright infringement on that bird.
What is this topic?
Thirdly, they have so above this not bald eagle is 13 stars to represent the 13 colonies that haven't existed in like 200 years. A little late, guys. Maybe update the thing. And then I think it's supposed to be like a sun or something above that. Like I think the colonies are in a sun or it's a crown. I can't tell what that is. It's just a weird line shape. It's not great. And I am embarrassed that you are part of the United States with that flag. It's not great. And
Andrew, look up the Michigan state flag then and tell me if you find that even...
Let's look up Michigan. Let's do
it's
some
like
flag
basically
roasting.
the same thing except
Michigan flag.
So it has random quotations of Latin. It still has the eagle. And no, we have double random quotations of Latin.
Wait a second. What?
The same blue background.
Is it just the same flag or something?
This is getting amazing.
It's similar.
Okay, so let's go down the line here. So here is the tried and true. All right, this is
no
the
one
good
thought
one.
this would be today's topic.
So we made this. This is a great seal of the United States.
Flags.
Look at that bird. It's glorious. It's well made. It looks like a vector image. It's fine. Then you have North Dakota, which is like, okay, you kind of fucked up somewhere around here. That looks terrible. Then you have Michigan, who decided to not even finish the fucking bird. You just like half drew the bird. How did you do this? You half drew this bird, and it's not even holding on to the stuff properly. It's like one of its claws is fatter than the other claw. It's not even symmetrical. How did you fuck this up? Also, is that a moose? Are there mooses in Michigan? Is that a thing?
It does look like a moose, yeah.
Mooses in
looks like
Michigan.
a Bigfoot.
Is that a thing?
What is
moose
Tubor?
are native to Michigan. Okay, well,
Okay,
I'll
there you
give
go.
you that then. I guess you can have that moose, but I don't think it would be hanging out with an elk. And
Michigan
also, if
is
you
happy
have
to have your permission.
and if you have a state animal, fucking choose one. You don't get to have two. California has a bear, and we put it on our
has
bed. Well, the
have
eagle is stolen.
Don't forget that
We have more than one
Don't
state
forget to-
animal because there's like categories.
there's 3 animals. There's the eagle, there's the moose, and the no wait, there's 4 because there's the Bigfoot in the Tubor thing. So there's 4 state animals in their flag. There you go.
I think that's supposed to be a guy. I don't think that's supposed to be
Oh.
Bigfoot. It does look like Bigfoot, but I think that's supposed to be a man.
Michigan men are very hairy. Then I'm sorry.
I guess so.
hairy men represent.
It also has even more Latin, which is
There's 3 things of Latin in this thing. If you don't count the Tubor thing.
There is too much. This flag somehow got worse than North Dakota, which is impressive because North Dakota's I don't like it. But you like came out of nowhere and made
And
your
just one-upped it.
So okay, what is this? What does this say? Wow, what a fucking phrase. If you seek a pleasant peninsula, look around you. Do you really put that on your flag? You put that fucking phrase on your flag. If you seek a pleasant peninsula, look around you.
I don't know much about flags, but people that are really snotty about them tend to say that any text is a crime. That you're not supposed to have any words on your flag.
I mean,
How about
that's
Excelsior?
also
ethical
you put
design of
circumcise on your
flags or whatever.
flag. Why would you do that? What is
How
that?
would you? Yeah, it says circumcised. Yeah, but how would you feel about Excelsior? How would you feel about Excelsior in your flag? Then, do you know what state has that?
Where was Stan Lee born?
I
best
bet
guess.
it isn't because of that. There's a state that has that.
How do you
and
know? It could be anything.
Oh well, there's
Be
a
beautiful.
hint. The hint is why did I look
Meanwhile-
up that state flag?
Meanwhile, while we wow,
It's New York. New York says Excelsior.
So look, while I can't say our flag is the greatest because we really
is better
should
than
pay
those,
someone.
though.
We should really pay someone to like properly
I like the
draw
California
bear.
flag.
They didn't draw the bear right. It looks like a dumb fucking clip art from the 90s. Like actually get someone to draw a damn bear.
That's pretty
Also,
good
it's
considering
Cali-
it's much older than the 90s.
Well,
yeah,
true.
Those
but
usually
it's-
those
doesn't-
drawings are
it's not
like
great.
historical. Though.
and also
I
yeah,
do
it
feel
says
like
California.
I mean, there might be other examples. I feel like the bear massively changes in fidelity from example to example.
Well,
I noticed that
okay,
as
well
well.
let's.
Like,
oh,
you
sorry, let
just
me go to
posted
the
a
sauce.
thing
I'll
that
go.
looks weird, and I'm like, I don't think the bear actually looks like that on our flag. I think it's
Here,
higher
let me-
detail.
Probably
That's
one
somebody
right
like
way of saying.
that's like somebody's low quality T-shirt print.
Yeah, that
Okay,
looks
let's-
like they went into Photoshop and just made that.
Oh,
It's got the
weird.
cutout
go to
filter
the-
on it.
Yeah, or I don't
I'll
remember the
go-
name. Yeah.
I'll go to the source. All right, let's go to the
The thing
source
is,
of
that
like
this.
sauce.
southern states tend to have relatively good flags. Like Texas is a very intelligible flag. Mississippi, I remember it being. Oh no, Mississippi's weird, isn't it? As we all who are
Oh.
listening to the podcast.
This
No,
would-
yeah.
this-
Oh no, Mississippi has the. Oh no,
This is the
loser
worst
flag.
topic for a podcast.
Okay,
An audio
So-
podcast
because
where we
of it.
describe visuals that at least one of us is not looking at.
Google at
Yeah.
home, everybody.
It's
Okay,
fine,
so
it's fine.
here's
We're
the
just-
here.
They're
here
in
we
the
go. We're on
car.
official-
They're gonna die.
So
Steven,
sorry, let me get rid.
don't
let me
eyes
get
on
rid
the
of
road.
this. Let me get rid of that one. So that is the official California state flag. That's from our website. That's from
People
the
can't see.
California.gov website. No, I'm showing it to
It's a
Keith.
f-
Everyone else
Oh,
can go
right.
look at the stupid bear on Google. That's the that's our official state flag. That bear still looks like piece of poop. And it says California
like it.
Republic, which isn't true. We're a state, not a republic. And it needs to update.
Oh my god, that's
also,
true.
just you can just get rid of California. And everyone knows it's California's flag. No one else
It
has
just
a
says
bear on their
Republic.
flag. It's our
You
flag.
just say Republic. Yeah.
Or just don't say anything. Just put a stupid bear with a star on it. Why do you need to specify it's California? No one's gonna get confused. No one's gonna show up and look at the flag and go
Chinese
like, wait a
flag.
second.
What is that star for?
We're I don't know. I don't even know what this. Well, okay, wait, hold on.
It's true that you probably shouldn't have to explain what state a state is on the flag.
The California state flag,
probably...
also known unofficially as the bear flag. So we are the only one with a bear on it. Just don't have anything else. Just have that stupid fucking bear.
I mean, yeah, it is the bear flag. That's good. You don't want to be like other flags.
But speaking of flags, though, since we were talking,
very hard to draw.
It's the United States. I didn't see that many flags while I was in New York. I saw
American
one when I
flags.
arrived in customs. Yeah, I saw one in front of the Banana Republic. I saw many actually.
Well, you're in the most city type place there is. You're in the city.
Yeah,
you get
there
to
weren't that
like
many.
You get to places where you see more fields, and suddenly everyone has to remind you what country you're in, or in case they forget.
Yeah, I did see some flags.
It doesn't have it doesn't.
I drive through parts of California where like every single every single street has multiple American flags and probably a few Blue Lives flags, and you're just like, all right, well, here we go.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I did see a flag in an unexpected place that was like a grocery store or something, and I said out loud, "Oh, look, I'm in the U.S." And then nobody reacted. Just everybody. I don't know.
Thank you, flag, for letting me know that I'm in the U.S. I might have lost track. You know,
oh my God.
I think I talked about it in the podcast, but I had that Twitter poll where I was just like, "Hey, people that aren't from the U.S., is it normal for you to just see not American flags, obviously, but to see your country's flag just fucking everywhere?" Because I walked outside I just stood in my own driveway and looked up and down the street, and it was nowhere near 4th of July or anything like that. And I saw 7 flags, if I remember correctly, just American flags over and over and over. And I'm just like, but why? What's the point? Like, why is there so many? And the consensus was basically from everyone, absolutely not, except when football's happening.
Yeah.
Football's is the flag holiday.
Yeah. Like, I went through the airport
football.
Both ways, my own airport, and I did not see Portuguese flags in the airport. There were names saying like Portugal stuff and all that, but no Portuguese flags in the airport. And certainly none outside, because obviously not. But yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
North Dakota wasn't even one of the original 13 colonies. Why do you have a stupid flag with 13 colonies on it? Wait a second. I just realized that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just realized, like, wait a second. They're not even part of that.
Right back to
Sorry. Sorry.
They're just looking. They're just putting the. They were just putting the jocks of the school in their like.
I was researching why we have a star and a stripe in our flag for California, because it looks fucking stupid, and it's kind of just there.
I think that's incorporated into the new California Republic in Fallout.
Yeah, well,
the new California Republic.
They stick to that star.
I think in Fallout they just give a second head to the bear and call it done.
Yeah, because it's a double-headed bear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but in any case, so the star and the stripe at the bottom are there because it was like a flag of rebellion against when Mexico owned California, and so it was like by the way, the original flag was great. I kind of wish we used that original flag because it looks fantastic.
That was where the double-headed bear was.
This is our original flag.
That's not a bear.
I think. How dare you? That man worked really hard on doing.
That
man's wife worked really hard on making that, and she's not going to be insulted like that. That is clearly a bear, obviously.
How is that a bear?
And
I like that it's the same bear and the same star, but the star is really big and the bear is really small, and they're both at the top of the flag for some reason, and the flag's mostly empty.
Yeah.
It's
so
like a big blanket,
and you can tell in the second draft somebody took a design class.
So basically, some Americans showed up and were like, "Nah, California is part of the United States," and so they added the star because that's what the stars on the flag represent, our states.
Oh, that's
and the
right,
lines. and the stripes
That's our
on
star.
the flag.
We're claiming exactly that. If you overlap the California flag with the United States flag, the star that overlaps, that's
color.
California.
That's our star. And
not even the same color.
And the stripe, which is even stupider, is there to represent the color.
What if the fucking grid of stars from the United States flag genuinely overlapped with every United States flag, and they all had a corresponding star in that really arbitrary spot on each flag? Like you could line them all up, and you get the full grid.
Wait, that'd be kind of cool,
nice.
Actually.
That'd be
you get like
cool.
a Dragon Ball Z box set.
Yeah, if you get a bunch of you could just get a bunch of flags and put them over each other, and then hold them up, and they make. I don't know. Like, what if it was only like one piece? You get one piece of the flag. Like
that would be cool. Yeah.
Like someone designs a really cool image or something, and then like breaks it up into 50 states, and like you get each state gets one fraction of this picture, and then like okay, you have to have these. They have to have the star and this piece on it, and then you can kind of do whatever you want with the rest of the space, and like then you put them all together, and you have this like amazing picture. Yeah, that'd be great. What a unifying message right there. But no, instead we get whatever the fuck these flags are. These
would
nightmare
never work,
scenarios.
Some states would just be like, "Oh, I'm a freedom. We're gonna have a weird thing."
No, but remember, nationalism takes precedence over freedom.
Yeah, we pledge allegiance to the flag colonel.
Yeah, you don't pledge allegiance to your state flag, you dumbo. You pledge allegiance to the national flag.
And the people that most ardently are in favor of the pledge are the same people that act like the Fed is evil. It's really confusing. It's really hard to track. If you have a conversation with that kind of person for like 10 minutes, you'll realize that you switched sides at some point, and you don't know when. But like they literally just started advocating against the thing they said a few minutes ago, and you didn't even prompt it. You're like, what's happening?
Anyways, I would appreciate it if anybody listening at the California government website could update the website on the description of the state flag to include that detail, because I had to go look up why there's a star and a stripe in our flag. And that doesn't seem like a really good use of this.
The state website says.
That's not a good use of this very important podcast time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
I don't think I should
very important podcast.
I should not be wasting my time trying to figure out what the state flag I live in represents. I think you should be able to do that yourself.
You should learn that in school.
I wonder if we ever did.
I don't think we did.
In Portugal, we learned.
I feel like I don't remember learning about just like a handful of Americans showing up to California and being like, "This is ours now," and someone going, "Prove it," and you made an ugly flag. Like I think I would have remembered that flag. We do tend to not know much about
our country because it's mostly bad news.
So in Portugal, I learned some things about my flag and what it means. And then it turns out, after I looked it up after growing up, that what I actually learned was the a historical retroactive explanation that the fascist regime we had for like 50 years in the 20th century came up with to justify the flag. And the real reasons are nothing like what we learned. So, yay for that.
Every country lies. That was the point of 1984.
The other thing I learned recently as well, like a colleague said, that Africa only had like 4 countries 50 years or 70 years ago, or actually specifically in 1942, Africa only had like 4 countries in it, or not 4, but like a few. And I was like, no, that's not right. And in my mind, I thought of countries that I know more intimately because they are ex-Portuguese colonies, like Angola or Mozambique. And they existed back then. And then I realized the reason why I instinctively thought of them like that, as them existing back then and not just being Portugal, is because actually our education system treats them as independent countries from before, which is just another way of whitewashing our colonial heritage. And
are you insinuating that French West Africa wasn't a real country?
Yeah, it was just friends. It was friends. Like South Africa was just the UK.
These names are great. Anglo-Egyptian Sudan.
Oh no.
Those are some words that are together.
Who wrote this map and actually did it without laughing the whole time? What is this? I'm just looking at a map from 1942 of Africa.
Oh.
and it's
but those
fantastic.
maps are tricky because they can old maps they mixed up.
Oh, thank God though.
Madagascar
still tried and true. Madagascar, like,
yeah,
never change, please. Just always stay Madagascar, please.
I never watched it.
No, there's
God damn it.
Our Madagascarian. Yeah. Wait, I don't know how to say it. Our people from Madagascar in watching just all disliked right now. Futilely they did, but they did.
I don't know anything about Madagascar.
Actually, it's really kind of
is it a really country poor country? People live in? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah,
I just had the moment of realizing, like, I'm like, is this? Or is it like Antarctica?
If I remember correctly, it's kind of like Australia, where there's like one part of Madagascar that people live in, and the rest of it's just kind of like nature.
There's also the native people.
I only know about it for wildlife purposes.
There's also the native people to there that get supremely overlooked by everyone, including the government.
Are there what do they call them? No, not like uncontacted tribes or something like that.
I don't think in Madagascar there are, but there are some islands around there.
I didn't know
but
if they were like
they have native cultures that just get completely erased over and have been systematically for centuries. So, yeah. But also the thing that I remember from Madagascar is that it's one of the countries with least access to the internet.
It seems like it would be pretty hard to get internet there.
They have cables, or they could anyway. Maybe
you do remember that, like, the sea cables have to be like run. I don't think anybody's like going out of the way to run a sea cable from Africa to Madagascar. That seems
it's right next door.
Well, yeah, but who's gonna pay for it?
Well, the British Empire that ruined the whole place in the first place. Maybe
we just need to teach people the value of introducing microtransactions and NFTs to Madagascar.
Yeah,
and then that cable gets laid.
$70 video games. They are gonna love it.
Oh no!
Digital video games, I should say.
Maybe they're better off without the internet.
Yeah, that's actually. Oh, sorry. Can I wildly switch the subject?
Certainly. Yeah, go for it, please. I'm just not finding anything great about 1942 Africa anymore. I just want to get out of here.
So this week, I don't know who it was, but I think it's EA that announced that all their games. There's one specific big company that announced that all their games are going to be $70 from now on. And some people were very upset about that, and other people were saying in response to that upsettedness that
I like to gargle corporate cock.
Well, they raised the point. I see the point being raised that
defending EA games is my personality.
That in the 80s, games actually cost more in relation to average salaries than they do now, and it's certainly than they do now with $70.
They also sell an astonishingly larger number of copies.
And not just that, that's a very good point, Keith.
With the copies themselves basically being free to produce.
Exactly, because they are digital, not cartridges. And also back in the 80s, the developers themselves got
even
pennies.
Before that, long since they were discs, which were also like practically free to mass produce compared to like the price of the games.
Yeah, they were a little bit cheaper, but I don't know if they were, because the transportation it's actually a fair chunk. And the store space, there's a lot of it's not as simple as that, but it's true. Cartridges are probably the hardest thing to sell, or the most expensive thing to sell when it comes to video games. But yeah, it's wild. I don't know, because the thing is, this announcement that I'm referring to, and I probably should look up, and I will look up while I'm talking. This announcement is specifically related to all of their games, including on PC, and so it's jarring because the consoles have had $70 games for a while. I think the Switch is at $60 right now, but the PlayStation 5 that nobody owns, and the Xbox, whatever the newest one is that nobody owns either, they also at $70. And what Nintendo does is old games keep selling at full price, which is how they are super expensive at the end of the day, even though they are actually less expensive. But the thing is, on PC, everything tends to be a lot cheaper. So, yeah. And especially EA, that most of their games are basically a patch to their latest game from last year, except their Battlefield game, which is just a downgrade instead.
It's trying.
Do you know what I'm referring to? The latest Battlefield game was supposed to be a battle royale, and so it has a different kind of feature set. And at the
that didn't
last
work out
moment,
so much.
Yeah, they changed it, so now it doesn't have any of the features that a normal Battlefield game has.
It also doesn't work mostly.
Also that, yes. Yeah. EA being terrible.
Gold Vision made a video about that game that is kind of just fascinating to watch.
About Battlefield, the newest one?
Yeah. There's also the Donkey one too, but it's just a train wreck. Like, it just doesn't function. And I'm so fascinated by these projects where a game is just not, it doesn't do what it's like, just fundamentally it isn't the thing it's supposed to be, and all these companies that supposedly know what they're doing just are like, ship it anyway, I guess. This can't backfire. And it just keeps happening.
I found out what the company is. It's not EA, it's another trash company, Square Enix.
Yeah.
Remember, just a normal reminder that they are not making any more Alien Isolation games, because despite selling millions and millions...
That's Sega.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
Square Enix is the one that did it. Yeah, that's Sega, true. But the Square Enix is the one that screwed up Deus Ex, among other things.
Yeah.
And other franchises. Yeah, all terrible, trash.
Yep, that's the reason we're not getting Deus Ex games these days. Because they mismanaged it and then decided it wasn't worth it anymore. Mm-hmm. It must speak to the viability of the franchise and the genre, not, the entire way that we handled it specifically. That's impossible. Never mind that moments after that franchise fucking died, immediately afterwards was like the renaissance of that entire genre. Because like the fucking immersive sims are like basically more popular than they've ever been. And like they literally they missed the window of like Deus Ex came back right between the original time that immersive sims were popular, and then now where everyone's like, oh man, Prey and Deathloop and Dishonored and other games this one company made and nobody else.
Yeah. Actually, Deathloop.
Fun.
I thought Deathloop had shortcomings. I didn't finish it because I didn't finish because it crashed, and it wasn't stable. But I think they are going for more of a. They're going for less of a. They're legitimately going for less of a. What's the name of the simulation?
Immersive sim.
Immersive sim. That's
one of the most awkward names for anything ever, but it's also basically the best genre of video games.
I cannot disagree. Apart from turn-based strategy.
They're basically like what if RPGs had role-playing in the mechanics instead of just dialogue?
That's what Cyberpunk 2077 should have been. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Well, it's also what it's also what like the 3D Fallout games try to be. And they like semi-succeed sometimes. Yeah, just the very fact that you can make choices outside of dialogue. You can choose to kill people, and you can try to solve problems via weird ways with traps and whatnot. But the AI in combat is so shallow that it usually doesn't justify it.
I never thought about that. As
janky and weird as it is, just the very interaction of in Skyrim, I think it is. You put a bucket on somebody's head to shut off their line of sight to steal their stuff. Like that kind of interaction, like that's immersive sim interactions right there. It's a really stupid one.
It makes total sense.
Like that's the genre is inspiring those kinds of interactions, and half the appeal I think of Elder Scrolls games and all of the Bethesda games is that they dip their toe in there really slightly, and people aren't used to that kind of stuff existing at all, so they think it's refreshing and new. But then nobody tells them about the good games in those genres.
Yeah, you mentioned that. It makes total sense because think back to how Morrowind was advertised with that whole first mission of you going up into the lighthouse and watching that little elf go and check out his stump where he has his ring, and that like they made a huge kerfuffle about that one particular quest and being like, oh, this is so immersive. And Morrowind was released on the back of Deus Ex, which actually
It's one of the things that's so obviously wrong with Outer Worlds is that Outer Worlds, as a spiritual successor to New Vegas, very obviously, on top of having like shallower combat and just not being New Vegas in a bunch of ways, very obviously doesn't have any interesting environmental interactions. Like you pretty much just talk to people or shoot them, and that's like the entire game. That's the two verbs, and the game tries to make those two things last 40 hours. And there's there still is the neat thing where you can shoot somebody outside of dialogue, and we'll see if the dialogue accounts for it. But there's just the it's still just the mess of like you can't do anything interesting here though. There's no like surprises. Including
that DLC where they should have done that, which is the detective DLC. Can you imagine?
That DLC. That storyline. I'm sidetracked because I got all motivated about my Squid Game script, but I'm fucking working on a script about the DLC problems and of how Outer Worlds was like kind of a mess, and both DLCs kind of made it worse.
For two different reasons. One for each DLC.
But like the second DLC is fucking incredible because of the fact that there's clearly something going horribly wrong with the colony and no one's acknowledging it. But it's not like a Twilight Zone, like it's not like a commentary, and it's not like a whoa weird how no one mentions this. Isn't that creepy? It's like no, like they just genuinely failed to account for in the dialogue the fact that they filled the game with these combat encounters that must have been added late that break the setting, like actively break the setting.
Oh, but you mean right at the very end of the DLC?
No. Spoilers for Outer Worlds second DLC because it's too hard to talk this vaguely about it. But they added brain worms that are brainworming people, and they're gonna get them. Everyone's brainworming, and it's like. The story basically doesn't like the story has a breakdown moment at the very end where the brainworms are taking over the entire colony, and the last remaining characters are huddled away in little hiding places together and holding it out, and you got to save the whole colony by wiping out the brainworm mama. But like 8 hours before that, you're already encountering mobs of brainworms, people that are literally described as bursting, like their name is like bursting host and stuff like that, or rupturing host, like that's how fucked up and full of worms they are. And they're chasing people around in the middle of the colony in the most expensive place,
the hotel
next to the hotel, surrounded by guards that are ignoring them, and like the random hotel guests are running from them and screaming, and you shoot them, and then you're like, oh wow, that's a big deal. I'd better talk to the closest NPC to find out about this, because that's what happens in games like that. When a game wants to have like a storytelling moment via gameplay, they'll like spawn like there's all these moments where you like walk into a room in like Dragon Age or something, and like, oh, this NPC is fighting these monsters, and if he survives, he'll tell me about the werewolf attacks that have been happening lately or whatever. Like, that's what happened. Like Fallout does that all the time. Fox helps you fight some dudes, then you talk to Fox and like, oh, I'm Fox. No one will acknowledge the brainworms for like 6 hours. The colony's covered in brainworms attacking people. There's obviously 2 NPCs that have a worm sticking out of their neck, and they won't stop smiling and being creepy, and like that's obviously intentional, and it's like, oh, that's fucked up. But then you talk to the person right next to them, and they don't mention how that guy's fucked up. And specifically, like, yeah, by the time that the brainworms are spawning in the middle of the most populated area and attacking people, somebody should say something about it. It's really weird, and it's not a conspiracy or some weird thing that everyone's ignoring because like they're conditioned to like pretend everything's great here or whatever. Like there's no commentary on how like people in a failing system will pretend it's not failing. It's like, no, none of that's there. It's just a mistake. They just fucked up the whole DLC, and the gameplay, moment-to-moment gameplay actively ruins the world building and storytelling in a way that is emblematic of all of Outer Worlds, to the point where I was already writing a script about that being a problem before I started that DLC, but that was the worst example I've ever seen, and I wasn't expecting for it to get so much worse after I was already writing about that being a problem in the game. I'm fascinated by that. I can't believe that. Like, otherwise, the DLC is like one of the more interesting things that the game has, which is still a really flawed. It's a really flawed, like, shittier Disco Elysium, but it's more interesting than other things happening in Outer Worlds a lot of the time. Otherwise, it's just the Parvati game.
Parvati, yeah.
It's just like, oh, you like Edgewater and Parvati? Well, you better stop playing the game like 5 hours in, because we're out of steam outside of the dating quest.
the dating quest was good. When I was playing the latest DLC, I was too bothered coming to a slow realization that it wasn't an investigation game. It was just a normal follow the quest line game.
Oh yeah.
And I was processing that while coming across all the problems that you're referring to, and I didn't notice all the problems like
it
that.
It has almost no actual expectation for you to figure anything out. You pretty much just complete your investigation by visiting every hub and talking to every NPC and solving their quests. And then at the end,
super disappointed by that. Yeah,
the entire list of people you can accuse isn't even the right person. Basically, you can accuse the right person if you want, but it's just like a Hail Mary option, basically, and it doesn't matter. Literally, the entire option of who you accuse affects nothing in the story, because then just crises happen, and you got to resolve those, and then the bad guys are revealed no matter who you accused.
No, I think you can, it affects that you can accuse some NPCs and they get punished. One NPC in particular, I think you can. At least I doubt
it, honestly, unless it's a side quest accusation. Because literally the conversation where you're accusing somebody ends with, "Oh God, this place is under attack. We got to deal with that," and then the entire roller coaster of the ending starts with no breaks. Yep. So if you're accusing anyone of anything, it's of a side crime.
Yeah, it's a side quest. It's that one related to the robot. There's a robot in the sheriff's office somewhere. And I think
there's a few things going on. There's people in prison. They can try to get out of prison. Mm-hmm. There's an accidental death somewhere that was self-defense, and there's it also fucks with the narrative a bit that you so many people die over the course of a quest that's supposed to be about one murder investigation, which they could do something with, because it's this person's more important than all those lives because of this corporate culture, but they don't really ever comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird quest. Both of the DLCs are so strange.
They are. They really are.
The first of which tries desperately to patch over a gaping hole in the world building the game had in the first place, and mostly makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, those people.
Anyway,
you have conflicting feelings about the people you're shooting moment to moment in this game. What if we made you feel worse about it, but also gave you no tools to deal with that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, something that bothers me is that I talk about how the games are so combat focused, and it's just not good in general. And also the people you're shooting, it's questionable whether you should even be shooting them. And people are well, technically you could play these games without ever killing anybody, but it's your character build shouldn't be a moral choice. Because that's how you don't kill people. You have to build a type of character that's completely unrelated to their morals. Their skill set has to be conductive to them not being able to kill people.
How can you not kill anyone?
You have to be able to hack and open everything yourself, speech check every situation throughout the game, basically, and also have ungodly stealth to the point of being invisible, and probably just play on easy mode so you can just run from every encounter instead of shooting them. While your
so you just sneak past everyone,
and your companions are either not with you or set to passive mode, and that's its own problem, because that's a massive immersion break where you're just this bulletproof Mega Man that just sprints past every fight, and that's your narrative supposedly.
That's saying you can do Fallout 3 without killing anyone, which is what I'm gonna say when I finish it, but because you can just you use God mode to
people say that, but I'm that's not a good that's not a good comeback to the idea that you're killing these people you probably shouldn't
Fallout
be, and so on.
In Fallout 1 you can beat the game without killing anyone, and even then it's a little bit of a stretch.
It's very distracting that you spend, no matter what your alignment is or who you're siding with and so on, you spend the vast majority of Outer Worlds killing the people that the corporations want you to kill.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing their job for them for the majority of the playthrough. Because almost none of the people you're fighting are actually working for the corporations.
Because then the thing with the fighting though is that what's the point of the fighting? It's to get loot, and the loot is pointless.
Oh yeah, no, it's just spam. It's just because the game's this game exists because the idea was, what if Fallout New Vegas, but we own the IP. That's the entire premise of the game's existence. So it had to have all these stupid Fallout New Vegas things in them, but none of them fit. This is not a post-apocalyptic wasteland that's gone through generations of tribal fighting and so on, and some people are trying to pick it back together, but other people are still in Walking Dead mode, where the only way to survive is to be a gritty douchebag. It's a colony that arrived one generation ago, Like the people that arrived are still alive. Like that's how recent this colony was created, and it's completely under the control of these corporations. Like you can't just copy paste the Wastelands logic onto this completely different setting and be like, yeah, you just walk around and you shoot random nameless goons constantly. There's just an infinite horde of them somehow.
Like, I wonder who came up with that idea.
The people that wanted to, that sold it on it being Fallout New Vegas, but we own it.
Yeah.
It just had to, that's why there's loot for no reason.
There absolutely is loot for no reason.
I played the 2 new DLCs, and like I swear in the first hour of the first DLC I got an entire set of like Mark IV Gatling guns for my entire party, and then I never needed a gun again for the next 20 hours. Because that's it. You capped out.
That's it. Yep.
Like there's just like 5 categories of gun, and each one has like 3 or 4 ranks that are just objectively better than each other, and they're numbered, so it's easy to tell. And that's the entire loot system. And the entire skill system, instead of being interesting stuff like those weird perks that Fallout games have, it's just like, would you like to slightly increase some of your percentages for some of your things a little bit? I was so bored leveling up in that game. The stupid skills, and it's also like it's also like instead of being like, oh wow, you qualified for a cool new perk, do you want it or not? It's like, would you like to read the fucking 20 little bubbles that you have access to find the one that's the least bad? Yeah, like after like 5 of them, none of them are exciting, but you have to pick like 20 of them. So you're like, I know. All right, which one's the least bad? And you just mouse over all of them one by one for like 10 minutes.
That's why in hindsight, I should have played the game in super easy mode.
It's just it's a nightmare. It's full of things that I think. There's several things that I think are questionable in New Vegas, but all of those things are done worse here.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a train wreck of a game. It's not like the worst game ever. Obviously, I've played so much worse all the time, but like, boy, is it just a bad idea. And the execution does not elevate the bad idea. The only good idea is the setting, which they mostly mismanage and misspend, and also like, I guess entire planets never got finished. And I'm sure it's because they're like they're a AA company trying to make an RPG and so on, and I get that, but that doesn't change the end result.
I think the biggest problem with the writing, and when I say writing, I mean setting and characters and quests. The biggest problem is the pacing, and it's brought on by combat existing. And so there's things like that planet that has a lot of enemies that just boils down to a crawl because there's so much combat, or there's missions that last too long for the story they tell because there's a lot of combat. But I honestly think that in terms of the writing, it's really well done. It's harder
to remember a lot of the writing because like trying to keep straight the policies of all the different corporations and how they're differently evil. Like that kind of stuff is made more difficult to process because it's all spread out over such an incredibly long game where so little words are happening per minute a lot of the time.
I think the problem with the writing is that on the one hand, it isn't as witty, or it's not witty. It is witty. It's witty writing in many regards, but it isn't as piercing as New Vegas, because New Vegas has a lot of like really hard hitting.
It's a Hegelian dialectic.
Yeah, but even beyond the Caesar's Legion, New Vegas takes its own writing very, very seriously, without necessarily going into Disco Elysium territory of commentary. But it takes itself very seriously, whereas The Outer Worlds doesn't take itself all that seriously, so it misses a little bit on that. But the problem is, it also isn't a Disco Elysium in its commentary where it's piercing in that other way where it like makes a statement. I really do think that The Outer Worlds shies away from making a statement. It uses the themes and
what incredibly unlucky timing to have a game come out where like literally the same year another game points out all of your failures by doing everything you went for in the same genre, basically just accurately, just directly better. Like I haven't seen that happen since Horizon Zero Dawn came out the same time as Breath of the Wild. And just so clearly was like, hey, I'm a relic of the past and have no new ideas. Here's the game that has all the new ideas for the same genre, and it came out the same month.
And how interesting that we're complaining that The Outer Worlds doesn't or has too much combat. Disco Elysium has 0 combat.
Yeah.
I mean, not technically zero, but it's not a mechanic. You do it in
It has
dialogue.
no combat mechanics.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. Why do you want to punch people? Don't punch people. Talk to them. They have interesting things to say. It's nice.
Yeah,
I'm talking to you, Andrew.
You can contrive reasons to have your violence, especially when you're in a, because like the biggest reason that like obviously there's parts where you're like actually going after the corporations at some point. That's going to inevitably happen, but also in the Outer Worlds setting, it's supposed to be a frontier setting, so there's always the threat of alien conflict with all the different monsters and stuff. So like you can easily set up combat that does make sense. It's just so relatively uninterested in doing it. Whereas I feel like in New Vegas, you spend more time fighting recognizable factions where you're like, oh, that's why they're attacking me, because it's that group of people and they work this way, and I know who that group is specifically, as opposed to the vague concept of marauders or whatever. But even then, the setting of New Vegas better wallpapers over the idea of just having random enemies, because the setting fits the idea of having random enemies better.
Mm-hmm. I think
so. It's a setting that had less reason to better contextualize its enemies, but still did do a better job of contextualizing its enemies.
Mm-hmm. I honestly, one of my favorite series of FPSs of all time is Stalker, and I think Stalker
Still
does
need to play it.
It really does a good job, like in that particular thing, what you're referring to, contextualizing the reason for enemies being there. Obviously, for mutants and just randomly generated bandits and things, it's more, it's a shooter. You do a few of those things.
I need to get around to playing Stalker so I can be in on the crowd where I'm either like wow, what a return to form with Stalker 2, or wow, what a betrayal of the franchise. They fucked it all up.
Oh no, they fucked it all up in all the Stalkers anyway. I haven't
played it.
Yeah, I've heard that those are flawed games.
I've heard there's been some very bad ideas of like prequels that were not, that just didn't make sense to make.
Yeah, well, they're good games, but they're flawed. There's things you need to overlook to enjoy them. I speak from my own personal perspective. Obviously, I overlook a lot of things about them, and I love them. But I need to overlook things, and it takes time to learn them.
That's built into all of the legendary RPGs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe not all of them.
All the ones that are like big fan favorite, like cult classic, like these are the ones that are actually defining the genre, as opposed to like the ones that sold the most, like Skyrim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say Skyrim. I do overlook some things, but
like the supposed legendary RPGs that are like incredible are always like people saying like Vampire the Masquerade and New Vegas, and I'm like, those have some barrier to entry, don't they?
Yeah.
There was a whiplash, like adjustment period to getting used to the idea that people were like, yeah, Fallout New Vegas is incredible. The game that famously launched broken, and if you didn't look any closer, that's literally all you heard about it for like a year straight, was that it was like unplayable and broken and entire assets were missing. And if you equip this item, a giant like error message spawns on your character and you run around with it like that. It was that game, and you're like, wait, that game is the best RPG? What's going on here? I need to take a closer look at this.
In a genre where Vampire Bloodlines is regarded as a hallmark, then that's about right.
Yeah,
I mean,
Vampire was its own adjustment thing. Where by trying that, I was really caught off guard by some of its. Can't even say it aged poorly. Like, it clearly had problems day one
to begin with,
in the context of when it came out. Like, there's like some borderline unforgivable things going on throughout that game, and it's like it's supposed to be one of the best RPGs ever made. And it's like, that's the state of this genre. Part of why I love it. It's a train wreck of a genre. It's a bad idea to make an RPG. Like, it's the hardest thing in the world, and it sells less, and it takes years to make. And then you probably all the best RPGs were made by studios that closed like a year later.
Case in point, Vampire Bloodlines that closed 2 months later.
Yeah, after making
they made a bid for Fallout 3. Did you know?
They made another big RPG too, like right next to it.
Yeah, they made Temple of Elemental Evil. That was their first.
And
Arcanum was their
something.
first.
Yeah.
That one, another one. It's a flawed gem. I think that one is the hardest to love. I really like it. but it is very. I like it intellectually. It's not the kind of game that it's not comfortable to go back
concept.
No, it's. I mean, I really like it. I really do, but it's not comfortable to play. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, do you see yourself being comfortable playing Fallout 1?
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out if I liked Fallout 1.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, you really need to play.
That seems like a concerning feeling to have about a game.
You need to play.
You've already beaten it.
It's rough. You're like playing this big legendary game, and you're like, I literally loaded my save and had the same conversation where I picked the same dialogue options over and over again, and it had wildly different outcomes over and over and over.
It's randomized, yeah.
Like, I had to save scum the final encounter with the final dude, and like I knew I could do it because I almost got it right on my first try, but then something went cataclysmically wrong, and I was like, oh no, what happened? And I'm like, well, I'm pretty soft locked where I can't beat this game unless I get through this scenario this way, so I might as well reload and try again. And then every subsequent load, the conversation went worse and worse, and combat was starting sooner and sooner, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know what I picked. I don't think I'm fucking this up. What's going on? And it's because the dialogue is so randomized that, like, you could just miss out on what that made me realize was that throughout the entire game, I could have been missing out on massive amounts of content and entire interactions.
Could have? You were missing out on enormous,
specifically because no matter what your speech check is, good or bad, you could just randomly pass or fail checks that you literally don't know are happening. Because they're not signposted, so you don't even know it's a skill check, and so you could just randomly be like, "Oh yeah, this is like an important character that's like in the sequel, and she's going to come up later." But your one interaction with her was a failed dialogue check, so that's the end of her entire storyline, and you'll never know that she was important. Here she is in the post credits as a slide explaining what happened to her, and I'm like, "Who the fuck is Tandy? I beat the game. Who's Tandy?" I desperately tried to go to every town and talk to every character and exhaust their dialogue. Who the fuck is Tandy?
The life of a Fallout player back in the day.
She got an entire end screen dedicated to her, and I don't know who she was.
The life of a Fallout player back in the... Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was just saying that back in the day, what every Fallout player did was just do exactly what you did over and over again, over multiple playthroughs until we've finally uncovered most of the game.
Which I mean, I guess in a sense that it's not a critique of a game because it's not good Let's Play content, but
I mean, I wouldn't want to play a game that way though either.
Oh yeah, these days.
But like that's the thing is like is
back then it was designed like that.
Fun?
A lot of games.
Like if you take it out of the context of making content for it, is that fun to do? And like to me, that does not sound like a fun time. I don't want to go back and have to like roll dice so many times and potentially still miss out stuff. Like it's like I want to do a particular thing when I do this run, and the game says
like
no.
that though. Keith is exaggerating a little bit on how it works because Keith didn't see it. I mean, it's fine.
I don't have like
it's fine.
I can't like open up everyone's brain and see like all the branching paths. All I can do is infer from the fucked up conversations that it definitely happened in. That like, this could be happening everywhere, and I won't know.
You're not wrong in saying what you're saying. Like it is correct that there are random chances and like, for example, perception checks. Is it perception? Yeah, I think it is perception. There's multiple characters that you'll notice something about them based on your perception, and your perception is used for shooting better. So if you say, "Oh, my character doesn't need perception," then you can't notice as like things about characters. So you won't have dialogue lines, and that perception is sometimes 6, sometimes 7, and there's a chance that it's 6 or 7 the limit. But regarding what Andrew is saying, and obviously this conversation, like an important thing, at least in my perspective, a lot of fans of the Fallout 1 and 2 specifically regard those games as, and get this, replayable games. However, Fallout 1 particularly, but Fallout 2 as well, these are games where you can have an optimal playthrough and you see everything or almost everything the game has to offer. So in comparison to, for example, Disco Elysium certainly, but for example, New Vegas, where you have choices that basically do increase replayability because you get different results depending on your choices, or you get different builds that are wildly different in play style. And Fallout 1, no, you once you play the game the correct way, you got to see everything. Do you know what I mean?
And it's kind of over.
Yeah, it is over. But even then, I see a lot of people, and I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm trying to explain why they say that. I see a lot of people from Fallout 1 and 2, fans of Fallout 1 and 2, talking about them as replayable games. I myself talk about them as replayable games. But, and I think the reason for that is because the quests are so obscure, some of them anyways, are so obscure that you just forget. Like a year later down the line, you're going to play the game and just like a bunch of stuff that you never knew appears out of nowhere, and things that you maybe saw, they don't appear, or you find things
it's
that
like
you
less
didn't know
I'm
were
going to
there.
take this route, and more there's entire shit that I just couldn't engage with because reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's another context here, which is back then, games
like
just
Vampire's
hid stuff
way
from
more
you.
replayable. Like in the real
Vampires,
sense of replayable, because it has like the Malkavian, and it has the Nosferatu,
and a lot of side quests,
which are like
a lot of the side quests
wildly
have,
divergent ways of playing the entire game
Yeah.
compared to like everyone else you can kind of group together as being like variations of a normal playthrough.
But even then, the side quests have different results depending on your choices.
Yeah.
And in Fallout 1 and 2, they tend not
Fallout
to.
1 has like the low intelligence playthrough, and that's like the one gimmick playthrough, and that one's like even questionable.
It has aged
and
really bad.
Yeah, it's also questionable whether it's even actually fun or just fun to think about the fact that it exists. Because like, oh, you want to play a playthrough, you basically can't talk to anyone in this dialogue-driven game.
It's really ableist.
And everyone just immediately stops dealing with you the moment you interact with them, and
it's really yikes all
run
the
out of
time.
town by everybody. Oh yeah, no, they say horrible things to you every time because you're because you're just you can't.
No, it's not a great look for the developers. Anyway, but the point is, my point is that back then, things like what games was I playing? Like Crash Bandicoot, for example. Those were games that were considered replayable because they just hid stuff from you. I mean, Crash Bandicoot was never particularly good, but
Yeah, I mean, it's the same definition of replayable you would give Super Mario World. Like, you're not going to play it as like a bad guy next time, but like there's a billion things that you wouldn't find the first time, which I wasn't aware of because they were all mad at me for it. He's missing all the secrets. I don't know what the word secret means. I didn't know. I don't know anything about Super Mario World, and they voted for it, and I'm like, I don't know where fucking any. There's like all these secret paths that teleport between different worlds, but also every world has like 100 secrets. Every individual level has like 10 secrets to find something or other in it, and it's just like, it's so like hilariously full of secrets, but like not in a way that you'd reasonably find most of them via like a way anyone would ever play a platformer. They're like bizarrely obscure, strange things.
I don't think I've seen that Let's Play of yours.
It's the disconnect that helps explain the entire concept and existence of Mario Maker, which is just like for Mario sadists that have played so much
Super
Mario
World.
that they just want to feel again.
Super Mario World is the Super Mario 64 that's bad, right?
No, Super Mario World is one of the side scroller ones before they were ever 3D.
Oh, right. Because there was which Andrew played it. I saw Andrew play the one that's like 64 but bad.
Like 64 but bad.
I think it came before, basically, and it was like a precursor.
Like
or which one?
You mean a 3D Mario?
Yeah. Well, am I wrong on that?
I think that's just 64 is the first one. I think you watched him play 64 because he was playing the collection like months ago.
Yeah, I played Mario 64 on the Switch.
Yeah, that was just Mario 64.
But there was one where you, Andrew, were just complaining all of the time, and it had like a jetpack.
That was 64.
Was it?
Oh no, that was Sunshine. Sunshine was
Sunshine,
awful.
That's the one.
Yeah, Sunshine.
That's the GameCube. You thought that was older?
Oh, sorry.
It's got them GameCube graphics, bruh.
My eyes are...
You can't tell the difference between cartoony Mario with less pixels and cartoony Mario with more pixels.
I mean, the difference is that this, like Mario Sunshine looks like Halo graphics, and fucking 64 looks like fucking Deus Ex graphics.
Damn,
like it's
no
like
need
there's
to
a
call
gap.
Halo out.
Yeah,
I think that's the generations they came out in. That's the gap.
I know.
That's the big deal.
Yeah, no. It's I don't know. I don't like Sunshine. I think there's a lot of people who enjoy Sunshine's mobility a lot more, but I never. Yeah. It's not a mobility style that I ever adapted to, and so it just frustrates me. Because
it was definitely my favorite Mario at the time, but I haven't played it since. But I always prefer 3D Marios, and I don't like the actually difficult platforming gauntlets that all the 2D games are.
Yeah, 2D games tend to be harder.
I just want to play Mario Kazooie.
The 2D Marios tend to be harder than the 3Ds.
Yes, significantly.
Right?
The 3D Marios are relatively chill until maybe. Well, I haven't played Galaxy, but Odyssey has some nasty tricks where you gotta do some big old jumpy combos.
There was one.
Whereas Sunshine has pachinko.
Don't know. I remember playing Mario in my friend's house on the Wii. It was like a number 8. It can't have been a number 8. There was a 2D Mario, and we played together. And I always died a lot because I don't know how to play. And I thought that thing was really difficult. I don't remember what it was though. It was a Wii game. Because Wii, everybody has a Wii. I don't have a Wii.
I don't have a Wii. I have a Wii U, which can play Wii games. So it counts, I guess, as the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a Wii U to play Wii games with, and I have a Wii to play GameCube games with. That's how confusing my Nintendo recording setup is.
That's
because you can't record the GameCube, or
I have a GameCube, but it's so much easier to record a Wii because you can get it to have HD output.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas,
because the GameCube has that weird thing with the output.
There was once upon a time a better cable for the GameCube, but it didn't come with any of the GameCubes. You had to order it separately from Nintendo as a proprietary better. I think it was a 720p output, or it might have been just 480p instead of 480i. But like, it was a massive increase in quality for the GameCube's audio. I mean, for its video fidelity originally, and you had to get special cords for it that would never come with your GameCube, no matter what. At least not in the United States. But not only that, you also have to have the right GameCube, because they literally just got rid of the port in later revisions and just committed to everybody having a shitty video quality. Like the GameCube,
that's cheaper.
The GameCube was capable of looking better than most people ever got to see. But the easy way these days is just to put in your Wii. So just put in your Wii. The Wii has the Wii is so fucking weird and toy-like that it literally has one of the part of the frame or the shell or whatever on one side just opens up and has 4 GameCube controller ports. It's so weird.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I just use a GameCube controller on my Wii to play GameCube games, and it's great. And I'd only use it for that because I use my Wii U for Wii games and Wii U games. And I'm very thankful for that. It makes it way easier to record stuff like Eternal Darkness last year and stuff like that.
I mean, if it works, right?
It even has GameCube memory card slots.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a fully functional. I think they just put a GameCube in there, didn't they? Isn't it just like a GameCube slotted into the Wii?
It's so weird.
It's like
backwards compatibility makes life so much easier. Like, I got to put my PS4 away
but not for like.
I mean, like when I got my PS5, I got to just put my PS4 away because all the PS5s I cared about, I just went into my library on my PS. All the PS4 games I cared about, I just went into my library on my PS5 and just downloaded all of them, including their saves. And they just play the same but better on the new console, and that's it. Like, there you go. You're just done with the old console. Whatever games you're holding on to, just bring them with you. Like, I started my Lock playthrough, which was in Dreams. I started my Lock playthrough. I played half of it on the PS4. Then I got my PS5. So I downloaded Dreams on my PS5 and finished my Lock playthrough on the PS5 seamlessly, and no one even noticed that I changed platforms.
Wow.
It's just neat. You just, it's like that was seamless. You don't have to deal with this bullshit where I have all of the Xboxes in my room. I have all of them in here somewhere. I have a Xbox original. I have 2 Xbox 360s, an Xbox One, wait, well, I don't have the new one. But it's like, that's too bad. That's too many Xboxes. Nobody needs that many Xboxes.
It's funny, here in Portugal, the PlayStation costs 1,138 euros.
It costs that much,
Xbox,
or it's because of scalpers?
Well, yeah, it's sold on shops that are scalping.
Yeah, basically. I was gonna say, like, it's because it's unobtainable. It still is, right? Like everywhere.
But the Xbox, it's basically, I mean, you're not gonna pay that. But the Xbox is sold on major retailers and sells for 500 normal.
Yeah. Pro tip: if you want a PS5, I mean, be safe about it. But like,
no, a PS4. Sorry, I meant an Xbox.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, pro tip: if you want the new generation of consoles, there's people who have buyer's remorse that have them. So like, you go on Craigslist or any related type of service, and you can find people trying to sell them locally, and that you're way more likely to get it from a local person than trying to catch one of these like fucking like lottery moments where people like sell them for 5 seconds and hope you got it.
Yeah, but also
those like your best
the
chances.
Buyer's remorse is going to be yours if you buy them, because there's no games for them
unless you got better plans or whatever. I played the second half of Dreams. I played all of Demon's Souls Remake. And I've continued my Monster Hunter World playthrough on PS5. My footage for my movie review was from PS5. If I ever get around to touching Death Stranding director's cut, either for my own purposes or for video stuff, that'll be on PS5. Like, thankfully everything carries over, at least, so you can feel better about it because you're using the console, at least, even if it's to play last gen games.
Well, the good thing
otherwise you would just be playing Demon's Souls and then put it away.
The good thing is I mean, it's not like the console is gonna like wear out or anything like that. I mean, it's older hardware, but the thing is, it's not like in a PC where you bought it today and in 2 years down the line it's gonna be out of date. No, it's the PS5. It's gonna be the PS5 for the rest of its life. So it's all down to the price you pay, really. I know somebody who paid below market price because one of the store clerks got one for free. Not one for free, but one for like cheaper, and they didn't want it, so they offered it to that person, and he bought it for 250, the PS5. And you know him as well, Keith. Andrew, I think you know him as well, but I'm not going to call out names because that is so lucky.
I don't know. I just don't see a reason for it. I don't even like.
And you need to pay to play online.
It's been 2 years since it came out.
Yeah,
I
right.
haven't even noticed. I haven't even there hasn't been a single time where I'm like, man, if only I had access to this PS5s.
No, it hasn't been 2 years. It's been 1 year. No, sorry. It really feels like it's been 2 years.
It's been a while.
It's been 1 year.
It's easy to try to line it up with the timeline of COVID as a concept too.
Yeah,
it has been astonishingly long for it to still be a problem.
Yeah, well, even still, in a year, there's not been a single game that I've wanted to play that I can't play, and that's
there's Demon's Souls that you like so much.
No, yeah. So like, it's really they're really pushing.
Andrew couldn't get past the armored spider.
I know
they're really they're really pushing my limits here. What I don't even know what games came out for this stupid console. Did anything even come out for this console? Because I've never even heard anything about it.
Spider-Man again.
I already beat Spider-Man again. I don't need to beat Spider-Man again.
I'm not boring enough to want to play it the first time. Fucking Spider-Man games, Jesus.
Among Us came out for the PS5.
Oh, Cyberpunk's coming out in 2022. Maybe I'll get that.
No, Cyberpunk can't be bought on the PS5. They took it out of the...
No, it's coming out in 2022.
Is it not back yet?
Oh, it's coming out.
No, it's back on the PS4, but not on the PS. It won't be on the PS5 until next year.
They screwed it up so much.
Well, they have to. They gotta wait until multiplayer is finished, then they'll add it. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at a bad list. I should be looking.
I'm looking at a list
exclusives.
here for exclusives as well. Oh yeah.
So we could talk about the fact that Jackbox 8 just came out, and we actually came out a while ago, but we finally played it last week because our normal Sunday plans were gone. Because in other news, Final Fantasy XIV's new expansion came out, which means during every weekend the game is unplayable. There's just thousands of people queue in a way that's like completely unacceptable for a consumer product, where you just can't play the game you bought. Like, it's literally hours of waiting in line to maybe get an error message and then starting over, and it's like, holy shit. So our Final Fantasy XIV series, even though we're not even playing the expansion content because it affects the whole game, is on hiatus until the game's playable on any given weekend again. So last week we played Jackbox Party Pack 8, which we were all excited to play because this is a fun annual experience, but it's the worst Jackbox by a mile. It's we might literally never do a part 2 on it. That's how bad it was. Like, there's no game I want to play again in it, and I'm so astonished by that. And that sure happened. I didn't think they could misstep this hard, but like, I mean, I guess I should kind of expect it, because every Jackbox is like 50% bad games you never want to play again. But then there's like an okay one and 2 great ones usually, and there's like the greatest hits you always want to come back to, and you remember, and you're like, oh man, we gotta look up what pack that was in and launch that one. I want to play fucking like Patently Stupid, where we make up stupid inventions to solve fake problems, or like Andrew likes the one where you have to improvise a speech while somebody's fucking with you and changing what the topic is, or putting you up a slide, cool. And you have to like react to it. And like there's a lot of really good ones. The ones where you make up words, the one where you try to come up with a poll answer that will split the room evenly as possible, like to try to have the most controversial like hard choice possible. There's a lot of great ideas, and obviously like Drawful and Fibbage legendarily, like, and Quiplash, like, are all these games that are all like the original things that kind of launched this whole thing and got them away from just making You Don't Know Jack all the time, which itself I'm happy to see in a game. It's just whenever they make another You Don't Know Jack and put it in one of these, that's a great time too. But these were all bad. The first game was a fucking Drawful Animate, which I guess is this Gardic phone type thing. I've never played it, but I've seen one of Rubber Ross's videos on it before.
I've played it.
It's like an animation game or something. It seems like
it's not very good.
It feels like it's a lot of setup for not that much payoff. That's mostly and then a lot of its popularity comes from just having a particular streamer group that are good friends and talented artists and know how to make it an entertaining show, do like a lot of the work for the game, maybe.
But still, it's heavily, like, if you watch on YouTube, like Rubber Ross, for example, it's heavily edited. Because it's so much downtime. It's just a lot of people quietly like.
And I'm used to there being a lot of downtime to edit whenever I'd make any Jackbox video, because there's always like the part where everyone's on their phones typing or drawing something. So I'm used to that.
I meant more in like a live stream setting. It's not very interesting to watch.
But in this context, it was just Drawful. It's just Drawful, but you have to draw 2 things. So it takes even longer.
But
and
the prompts are worse.
The prompts don't really in any way no one really had to animate anything, and the results were still roughly the same as they always are, with people getting and not getting your answer. Like, they didn't really justify at all the animation concept, and so it was just a slower, worse Drawful, and you would just want to go back and play Drawful. So that was a bummer.
Yep.
But then there was this there's this wheel game where it's just a trivia game, but they're like, hey, we spin a wheel sometimes, and that basically determines who wins for some reason. And that was horrible. Because Stephanie was sweeping. We played with Stephanie, and she got like 100% of the answers correct for every trivia question, and they were all like, it's like nuts, because they'd be like, here's 12 options, pick the ones that are right. You don't even know how many of them are going to be right. And she'd be like, boom, got him. I got the exact like 7 that are correct on the list or whatever. And she, like, every step of the way, she kept getting everything 100% correct, and it was astonishing. But then out of nowhere, you then have to spend what feels like 60% of the experience watching a stupid wheel spin and give people random arbitrary points for no reason. And it keeps explaining rules that are really confusing but aren't really worth following, because you're still just spinning a wheel and not making any real choices. And it's like, this is a bad idea. This is a horrible idea. and there's an interview saying that they introduced the wheel because like trivia is not very fun if you're losing and you don't know the trivia and something like that. And it's like, you guys, I don't have to tell you that you guys already made a bunch of solutions for this problem in your past trivia games. Like, you don't know Jack. Round 2, the questions are with twice as many points, so you can catch up if you do better in round 2, so you don't feel like you're constantly behind. And then in round 3 is fucking chaos mode. It was usually Jack Attack, which is the one where they ask really, really basic trivia, like, what are Marvel superheroes? And then you just press A the moment you see a name pop up that's correct, but you carefully hesitate and don't press it whenever a wrong name is popping up, and you lose points for pressing it the wrong time, which you might reflexively do because you're trying to press as fast as possible. And so it's like that. It's like a reflex test as opposed to a knowledge test. Like, those are all ways of getting around that problem of like, oh, I didn't know this really obscure trivia, so I lose and I'm not having fun. And then there's the like Trivia Murder Party, which people love, which they've already made a sequel to also. In that one, every time you get a question wrong, you're on the docket to get murdered and turn into a ghost, but you have to play a mini game first, and maybe you'll survive the mini game and get to and you don't get eliminated. So that's a non-trivia way of giving you a little edge that isn't just trivia all the time. And then of course, like, the ending of Trivia Murder Party is the one where you're trying to escape to the right side of the screen, and the person who's winning has the head start, whereas all the ghosts don't. But specifically, all the ghosts can catch up with the person who's winning and replace them and win instead in the final round. So like, they've come up with these before. So like, that interview question thing just doesn't work. Like, this is wrong. Like, this the wheel does not serve the purpose that he wants it to, because if the wheel steals your victory away, no one defeated you in any way. They didn't defeat you in a bonus round or a mini game or anything. And more specifically, if you win via the wheel, it feels patronizing because you didn't do anything. It's like, oh, it decided I won instead. Cool. I love lottery. That's a gameplay mechanic. Like, it's just such a bold-faced, awful idea, and I don't know how it came out from a company who specifically trivia is easily their best. Like, if you divide all their games into genres, like, there's obviously like weird multiplayer games they do sometimes that are like Among Us, or like weird, like they have the mini game driven games that aren't like any kind of trivia or drawing type thing, but instead are like some kind of weird attempt to make a new genre of game practically. Then they have like the drawing games, then they have the trivia games. Like, you divide these into a few different genres. The trivia games until now had probably the highest average quality because they just knew how to do that. They've made You Don't Know Jack for like 20 years. This is just a gargantuan mistake, and I don't know how it happened. Every idea in it is bad, and it's just a trivia game. I thought that's what they knew how to do. So that fucking happened. Weird. And the other 3 are all bad.
I did not expect that. Honestly, when he said, "Oh, they're all bad," oh my god, really?
Yeah, they're all bad. Job was Brian's favorite that he hyped up in advance, and so we were looking forward to getting to that one at least. But it's mostly just irritating. You get a bunch of job interview questions and you answer them by typing a really long answer, hopefully, and then instead of that answer mattering at all, because it doesn't, you literally never see these questions or answers again, and so no one even gets to like laugh at what you wrote or anything if it was funny, or like hear your answer earnestly or anything. What instead happens is all the other players get a few of the other players' answers without context, and they get a new question, and they have to make an answer out of those other people's answers by clicking on the words they use and making sentences out of them. So you get this giant, on your phone, you get this giant scrolling screen of like 60 words, and you have like 20 or 30 seconds to like come up with a joke or a sentence, and then try to come up with the words that could even express that idea. And generally speaking, it's just very difficult to actually express a coherent thought at all. And in many cases, other players can sabotage you by just writing gibberish and not really giving you much to work with to begin with. And so, like, we played in the entire round we played, almost none of the answers were actually funny or relevant to the question or even comprehensible most of the time. The biggest laugh of the entire night was actually when the game gave me, instead of having me make sentences, which was the conceit of the game, there was a bonus round where they give you 2 beginnings of sentences, and then you just had to fill in like one word as an answer. And that conciseness was, I was able to pull off a joke. where it's like it said I have blank and I need blank, and I wrote I have Andrew and I need friends, and that got the biggest laugh of the entire game because it was just a quick setup and punchline, and it was the best anyone could do because the game was just so frustrating to express any actual ideas with. And
because you're not playing with that much of a
and like at best it's just a shitty Mad Libs, so that was not really a highlight either. Probably the best game of the pack, which was just confusingly executed, but it's the one I would most likely ever come back to, is this one where you're divided into 2 teams, and it's like Family Feud, where you and any audience that's playing all answer a bunch of questions. Like they rank stuff basically, like in Family Feud, and then you have to try to like correctly guess, like, and one round you have to guess like what the top 3 answers were of the collective audience. Like, what are the best field trip locations? I have these 8 options, and you have to pick like the 3 that the most people picked in order to successfully continue. In one of the cases, it was like we had to choose we had to rank these 8 hottest like Man Alive Time magazine or whatever cover people. And then guess what everyone in the room collectively ranked them, like what the actual popular answers were, and that one, it was granular. You had to guess the next one in sequence from 8th place to 1st place whenever it was your turn, and it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting, but I could not justify why we were in teams the whole game. Like, I could not know at any point why we were in 2 teams and how that mechanically interacts with the game. The best I can come up with is that if you were in a physical room, you would like huddle up with each other and be whispering and stuff. But we were all in voice chat, so it was like we were just one group functionally, and it was useless.
It was also really very unclear about the rules of the game.
Oh yeah,
like it didn't do a very good job of explaining to us exactly like when are you allowed to talk, who's allowed to talk, like like, can we try to like goat them into the wrong
it felt like
answer?
cheating to show your teammates what you put into something, because it's like, well, isn't that just the answer? But like, we spent the whole first round trying to figure out what the data was based on, because at first we thought that we just answered the question amongst our group of 3 people, and then amongst the 3 of us we had to figure out what our own ranking was collectively. I'm like, isn't that stupid? Can't we just tell each other in 5 seconds and then we have it solved? But we eventually realized that the data was that even though we were picking answers as a group of 3, the data that the answers were based on was based on our group, the other group, and the audience of 30 people. So we eventually got that figured out, but it was like, it's like every single one of these games in this pack had the problem where they're complicated enough that the quick blurb that they give you at the beginning was just not enough to fully understand the context of what was happening. And you basically need an experienced player to explain the games for you, because the game just couldn't quite nail it enough. Like, it was just too much each time. And and you could definitely be like, oh, you're all in a stream together, you're yelling about stuff, like you're just not paying enough attention. But like, I've played Jackbox in life before, and it's like a bunch of drunk middle-aged people yelling at a TV together. You can't overcomplicate this stuff. Like, I can't. If like the gamer-focused streamers getting a little distracted here and there can't process what the game is, then like fucking game night people are fucked. Like, half the crowds I've played games with, they'd have a worse time. And then the last one was an attempt to have a hidden role. They tried to come up with their own version of a hidden role, vote for the bad guy game. But unlike the clarity of push the button, where it was about like, oh, somebody's the bad guy, figure out who, and there's like a series of mini games we're trying to figure out. They have this bizarre system where they would give you a letter from your own name on the screen, and you had to draw a murder weapon as described by the screen. You had to draw the weapon that they said in a way that hid the letter that was on the screen, because the letter was your calling card, so people would be able to tell what they'd have a hint of what player they'd have a hint of the player that had the murder weapon based on what letter is hidden somewhere in the weapon. So if you had like an N, you had to like figure out how to like pretend that there wasn't an N, like draw around the N and use the line, like you're doing tattoo cover-ups basically. Like you have to like repurpose the lines into a drawing, which itself was a slightly fun idea, but the reality of it was so weird and confusing, and it was so strange. I can't even explain the actual moment-to-moment gameplay of this mini game, because simultaneously everyone is a murderer and a victim, in that they brought a guest and you can target anybody's guest. So anyone can be targeted, and everyone is murdering someone at any given moment. And it's just a mess. And then like, if you accuse certain people, it doesn't matter because other people accuse this person and only shows one accusation. And then it's like, oh, but if you were right, you'll get points later, but we won't tell you if you were right. And so it's like this weird unfulfilled frustrations. And there's the weirdness of that they make you draw 2 drawings, and one of the drawings is everyone's first drawing is put on the screen as an example of their type of drawing, and then the murder weapon that's anonymized is there for you to try to identify who did it. So you're guessing based on that one drawing who the murderer is, and then you can look at everyone's example drawings on the other side of the screen, so you can try to identify their art style or recognize a letter that's in both of the drawings potentially. But as a core flaw here, you're drawing 2 drawings under one time limit, and everyone's going to put more work in many cases into their first drawing because they're trying to do a good job, and then be surprised when, oh fuck, there's a second drawing, only for that to be the one they're actually going to be judged based on, because the first one is shown no matter what and isn't the murder weapon but is an example. It's so much. And once again, we're back to the problem of drawful anime, where you're drawing 2 drawings for some reason, and that massively inflates how long the whole thing takes, and it's just not fun. It's so much busy work for not a very fun hidden agenda game, and or hidden role game, and there's just better ones to play, even some that they've made.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's, as you said, sometimes it's half games good, after half games bad. But yeah.
Oh yeah, there is no like greatest hits Jackbox where all the games were good. They've always got something weird, like the devil mini game, or the one where you kind of play like dodgeball pong, or like there's one where you, some of the other arcade games are usually bad. Like there's one where you're shooting Galaga guns around, and it's like, I don't want to play an action game. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't think I played that one.
No, I think it's called Zeeple Dome. I think their only good arcade game ever was probably the co-op. They had their own co-op riff of Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, where you're just disarming bombs and all yelling at each other what you think's happening and so on, and that was kind of fun. But other than that, all their arcade games, aside from like 1 or 2 hidden agenda games or hidden role games, are just dreadful. You touch them once and you're like, what were they going for? And then you never launch it again, and you go back to playing Quiplash.
Quiplash really is the tree that keeps on giving.
Yeah, and then you got your controversial choices like the rapping game. Those ones will split the room, where some people are like, yeah, and some people are like, never again, and there's enough never again that you'll never play it again. But
not a big fan, honestly.
But at least some people thought they were neat.
It's usually pretty rare that a Jackbox is like all misses.
I think it's never happened before.
That's true, yeah.
I think we've always had at least 1 or 2 games that we really want to go back and play.
Yeah, it's pretty. It doesn't feel common that the majority of a Jackbox is like literally unplayable trash. Like I don't know. Like you said, I could literally never foresee myself playing 8 with a group of people. Like an average group of people, I don't think would enjoy any of the games on 8. It'd be just too much for them. They would just nod off, or like talk amongst themselves and lose the whole thread of the game. Because all of them, even like the trivia one, is still like you're doing trivia and you go, yeah, this is fine, and then when it goes to the wheel, there's going to be a whole group of people going like, huh, what are we doing, what?
Yeah.
Huh? And like someone's not going to spin or not put their thing up correctly.
Spinning a wheel
like,
is completely non-interactive, even for the person spinning the wheel, but everyone else is just watching somebody else spin a wheel.
Yeah, and people can get
it
points
doesn't
from
even
that,
have Wheel
which
of
is like,
Fortune pacing where it's like spin and now guess and spin and now guess. It's like a multiple minute long segment of just spinning a wheel for a while not really understanding why. But even if you understood why, you're just spinning a wheel, so it's boring.
Yeah.
It's impressive. I would be curious to know if a lot of these were pushed like on a crunch, or if this is the folly of like maybe Jackbox doesn't work as a team remote. Like maybe they just can't do very well remotely as a company. Like they just need to be in the same room with each other.
Depends on what their
chemistry.
development cycle is, because last game would have been made in the context of the first year of COVID, and that one had.
I would
talking
imagine
points.
that those games were. I would imagine those
it also
games
had
were
Champed
made.
Up.
Yeah, it did.
When we invent
I would
little
argue
heroes
that
fight each other.
I bet the majority of the games were already crafted prior to COVID, and they were just built during COVID. And I think
I don't know. I have no idea what their development cycle's like, but they do seem to make an annual game.
True. But so yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious. I'm really interested in knowing what happened here. Like it's something I would love to know more about. Like what caused such an interesting.
What did you see?
Yes, I'm just remembering how good Jackbox 7 was. So yeah, Jackbox 7 had Champed Up and talking points. It also had Blather Around. I love Blather Around. The one where Blather? It's the one where one person's desperately trying to give hints so that someone can guess what their term is.
Oh,
and your only hint is place or person or thing or something. And so
that does have some fun outcomes.
So like the other 7 players are just screaming things into their phone. Like they're just like spamming all these things, and you're just like, and you're saying stuff like, "It's a terrible, colorful environment liquid. It's where you are the zoning. It's kind of similar to oil spill." Like I'm reading you playing it right now.
It's nothing
the place
like
has an oily gearhead. And everyone's just yelling like, "Oil Derek, WD-40, drag strip, Bo Derek."
Babadook.
Babadook, yeah, always Babadook. You're just all screaming. That was my joke.
Oh, you were.
That was my ongoing bullshit. Like it was just like desperate, like one person desperately trying to give hints and not having the tools to say what they want quite, and everyone just frustratingly trying to figure it out. And every hint has the chance to make them even more off track if you do it wrong. And like it was so fun. It was such a chaotic energy.
That was good, yeah.
And it was so simple. These games are all so simple. How'd they fuck it up so bad? Oh well.
Well,
good luck
they
next
need to
year,
come up with new ideas. They need to come up with new ideas. That's why.
Anyway, that's been our podcast this week, I think.
Yeah.
Did we talk about all of the bullet points that?
No.
Did we did?
No. But that's
Missed
okay.
one.
That's how it usually goes.
Yeah, we got more than usual. I really forced this one at the end when we could have been ending. I was like, and Jackbox, because my food's still not here, so let's go.
Oh man.
That's the secret invisible timer in these in these sessions. Is Keith's food here yet? Yes, no.
And I think it's yes. No.
All right, see you guys next week unless we don't.
Okay.
Bye.
That's a reassuring ending. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.